Welcome to Destiny Massive Breakdowns, episode 299. I'm Lego LaFlash.
And I'm Ill Physics, and we're here with another deep dive into Destiny 2.
And this week, it's a new season. We got a final shape trailer too, and marathon announcement, and just what a crazy week, man. It was just insane. And so, yes, we have all that going on, but we'll also be going over Season of the Deep ritual weapons for Vanguard, Crucible, and Gambit. So there's one for each playlist, along with the Iron Banner rolls to look for. I want to give the disclaimer, like, straight out the gate. Look, we talked about doing Trials of Osiris stuff first, but it's a funny time because for the first time ever, we got Trials of Osiris the first weekend of a release, and everybody's still playing PvE, first of all. It wasn't one of the new weapons, and so it just felt... I don't know, like, I didn't have time to really go in there and grind for the new stuff, and I want to spend more time. Like, Trials of Osiris weapons are such a big deal, and especially we got one running the Crucible right now, still Immortal. And so I wanted to, like, spend time with these weapons before just talking about them, and I got to spend a bit of time with some of the other ones we're going to talk about today, and so I felt a lot more comfortable going over those ones and talking about the season in general rather than just jumping straight into Trials and fingers crossed what we think will be good for it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And keep in mind as well, just kind of a full disclosure thing for everybody, the way that we, to a degree, think about which weapons we're starting off with is also kind of what's hot. If there was like a hot Trials weapon, you know, that was brand new to this season, I think that would have pushed us. It would have been a little bit more of an impetus, right, to cover that first off. Man, I even thought about, do we even know the rest of the details for the dungeon weapons? Do we have all the roles for that and in perks and whatnot?
We actually do have all the roles for it now, and there's some interesting stuff in there. Like, I'm curious to go over it eventually, specifically because there's a perk that we're going to talk about later called Discord, and that is on the SMG. It overall seems more PvE heavy, but the glaive in there is what I was hoping for the Trials of Osiris glaive. It is a rapid fire glaive, firing much faster at the exotic hunter. Is that our first rapid fire glaive? It's our first legendary rapid fire glaive. So the exotic hunter glaive is the same thing. And I have just been waiting for this. I'm really excited to try it. But on my run, I ran with Watts and Mylan on dungeon release, and Watts got the glaive. And I was like, no, I would use that. Give it to me. And it was like a great roll. It was like impulse amplifier, you know, everything that I would want. I was like, no, why?
Oh, boy.
Why?
Okay.
But you had a pretty great time on last episode with Drewski. There was so much stuff in that episode that I was like, oh man, these are the things that I would say. And I felt like Drewski and you, Tony, both of y'all were taking words out of my mouth sometimes because y'all started talking about the new strand aspect and how it leaves that decoy, and Drewski was going on about it. And then you brought up bombardiers, and I was like, oh, this is like the stuff. This is the kind of build. And then I got all excited about it. And then you told me that you banned it in labs.
It is like quite good the way that we do things in labs, and for folks that have, of course, been listeners for a bit, that's our community scrims for my community, to help folks improve at the game a little bit. We have different levels in labs, right? And certain things get banned or restricted based specifically on whether, like, we all kind of come together, and I talk to people in these different levels. We have levels 1 through 4, 1 being beginners and 4 being like scrim players, regular scrim players, all the way up to like tourney players, basically. And quite a few things are actually restricted or banned because they aren't necessarily too much of oppressive to like the regular scrimmers who have like excellent movement, you know, and just excellent timing, great game sense, top tier game sense, and things like that. But I'm more interested in, like, those people. I don't really help those people improve. A lot of those people are better than me at the game, just objectively, whether we're talking tourney play or pub play or scrim play. I'm not going to be able to help them get better that much. A lot of times that atmosphere is just to keep all of us like higher level players sharp. I'm more interested in my ones, people that are just starting the game, the new lights, but more like the really interesting stuff improvement wise really happens in the 2-3 levels when people jump from, okay, I'm taking the crucible more seriously now. Now I'm just going to jump from like a 2 to a 3. A 3 to a 4 is not only am I taking it a little more seriously, but also I'm going to take all this information that these level 4s are throwing at me, and I'm going to, jump from a 3 to a 4. That's basically, how the tiers break down. And so I'm more interested, to go back to what we were saying, I'm more interested in the stuff that can be oppressive to the 1s, 2s, and 3s as they're learning. Like then, if a level 4 comes to me and they say, hey, you should think about restricting this, I'm going to take that with kind of a grain of salt, because I'm like, well, is it something that is super impactful in your level 4 game? Because I don't want to restrict too many things that a level 2 or 3 is using in the main game, the pubs, the trials, et cetera, et cetera. I want people to be able to use as much as they can use in those pub environments so that they don't have to switch up, to like a tourney build. Like, you're not going to get practice with the things that you're running in pubs. It's the same reason. A really good example is a sniper. The reason why I don't ban moving target, I don't ban opening shot. We just banned targeting mods, unflinching mods. I believe those are the only two things, and target adjuster. So you can run anything else that you want on a sniper. And people are just like, well, why don't you ban opening shot? Or why don't you ban moving targets? Those are banned in tourneys. And I'm just like, well, if people can't use those things, they're going to have to switch up to a different sniper. And snipers are one of those weapons that are very subjective on feel, and how that ends up playing into the impact that a particular player can make with that weapon. So, yeah, I just feel like the one shot from bombardiers, maybe it wouldn't be as big of a deal for, a level 4 that has, some of the best movement in the game, right? And game sense to detect, okay, I'm paying attention to the fact that there will be a strand decoy, because I spec'd everything. I know, Drewski's in here. He's going to be playing with it. I'm going to be expecting it. I'm not going to get baited by it maybe as much as someone who's still kind of learning and getting that game sense down and trying to shuffle all these things in their mind, playing in maybe a new setting because maybe they haven't played scrims as much. And so that's the reason why we ended up, initially, it's kind of a provisional ban because we let it sit. After a new season starts, we let things sit for about 2 weeks for everybody to get a feel for things. And then we come together as a community to take a look at things and suggestions from folks on what may be a little too strong for the labs environment versus not. So that's the reason why it ended up getting banned. But we're going to go over it. It's a provisional ban. I say that because we haven't had that meeting. It's kind of a week and a half in. And so we're gonna get it together in about another half a week, and we're going to just get into a big call with all the regulars, everybody throughout the entire level system. I don't want to hear from just my 4s. In fact, I'd prefer that to be the thinnest group that's in that call. But my 1s, 2s, and 3s, particularly my 2s and 3s, we're going to get into that call most definitely and see if it's something that truly needs to be kind of pushed out, or is it something that game sense can, at the 2, 3, but particularly the 3 level, I would say, can overcome that. And, like I said, we can keep as many things in the game as possible. So, yeah, it's really interesting. But to go back to what we were talking about with regards to the last episode with Drewski, you enjoying that episode, because, obviously you weren't able to jump in with us. I'm glad you're feeling a little bit better, for sure.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I just got this big smile, this big grin across my face when you say that you enjoy it, because that was like one of the first things I was going to ask is what you thought about that episode, because I definitely tried to make sure that I was supporting. I was definitely trying to make sure that, I was there and you were there. I was thinking about things, man, what would Lego say? How would Lego frame this question? Just trying to think outside of my immediate perspective with most of those questions. So, yeah. More
than anything, it got me wanting, to play labs more, and because I still it's funny, like I was telling my wife earlier this actually, that like I was like, I haven't played any games with Tony yet, and she's like, how have you not played any games with him yet? And I was like, well,
we're busy, man.
Yeah, when you both do content creator stuff and they're on separate ends, like if I was a streamer too, and it would probably be easier for us to connect in that way, but because I'm YouTubing, it's like a separate spectrum. It's like
most definitely
you're like internally, like just by yourself in an editing room most of the time, and then streamer is like a live, and there's this whole gap and stuff. And so, but it is like labs and listening to y'all talk about everything and y'all's interaction there, and hearing how Drewski plays, I'm like, oh, I really wonder like what my play style is like compared to him if we put them side by side. I mean, I'm not saying I'm Drewski, that he's
of course
on a different level, but I'm just curious, like maybe like, you know, seeing him like in action, like in a game, would help me develop the skills that I have more, and it makes me wonder where I'd line up in your system and everything like that. So it gets me pumped to hear you talk about it.
I would be fascinated, you know, super intrigued to see you in that environment, because
me too.
You know, people like you, people like Drew, you know, folks that really love, number one, the game inside the game, people like Cammy as well. It's always refreshing because a lot of people come in and they have a similar play style to me, you know, or they have a similar play style, you know, to other like niche but relatively popular niche play styles, right? So I just see it a lot. The reason why a lot of folks love you, love Drewski, love Cammy is because they can see something different. When they come to my stream, you know, like a lot of people have a similar play style, but there's little nuances. And obviously I love my primary play, and I'm better with hand cannons than most. So everybody's always trying to like strike things out as far as the difference. As content creators, we're always trying to strike that difference in our gameplay, right? And it's people like I said, you, Drew, Cammy, quite a few other people as well. I just, off the top of my head, you guys always come to the forefront. That it's really easy to see that difference. But when that difference is, when you get those unique players that play on their own style, do their own thing, it's just really interesting for you guys coming to labs, because I never get to play against that for the most part. Right. And so playing against Drewski has been really, really interesting, honestly. Because nobody that I've played plays like him. Honestly, like, just to put it, nobody that I play plays like him.
That's cool.
And he gets me on a lot of baits that just rarely I get baited on. Like, he gets me out of my super. There's just one thing that he does, and it's got to be conscious, because, you know, everything with these people is intentional, right?
Yeah.
Like, I almost always have a roaming super, and I almost always now, just whenever I see Drewski in my lobby, don't want to use a roaming super, because he baits the radar to make sure that he's the person that I'm gonna come for, but I don't know that it's gonna be him. It happens so much. He's got to be doing it intentionally, and so he's either at first he's always thinking about, how do I neutralize this super with something that is really effective, where a lot of other folks like myself, I'm just like, I'm either going to create distance because I'm expecting for it to come up, that super to come up, or I'm just gonna like team shoot it. Like, I'm very restricted in how I deal with that super, basically, especially because I don't really give respect. Like, nobody should give respect to roaming supers these days with outside. I mean, roaming supers just aren't it, right? Yeah. Except for things like Shadebinder. So my point is, I don't know why. He's got to be doing it intentionally. He's almost always the first person on the radar, and he baits me towards him, and I had to ban conditional finality because of him, because I couldn't even block with Arcstrider. I couldn't even block with Arcstrider to get out of it. After that happened, I was like, Drewski, that's banned. Look, man. Like, I gave him I gave, not him, but that gun, so many opportunities, but he got me in my super more times than I got him. I think way more times. So anyway, it's because there was no counter to it, basically approaching him, that we had to ban conditional finality.
I'm glad.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
I was just going to say, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was looking at the trials report from this weekend, and to see an exotic raid weapon be in the top 10.
It's so good.
That's crazy. It's number 10 from this weekend, and that was really cool to see. I don't even have it yet, but for me, it's refreshing in the normal general playlist just to see something different, especially when things like bubbles are so strong with the new trials playlist, and to see all the clips of people just busting through bubbles with conditional finality. And I don't mind getting killed from it either. There's this
I don't either.
Fun factor thing of shotguns, and whenever I die to it, I'm like, well, I was in range, like that one's on me, you know. Like, maybe in a super I would feel different, you know, but I'm in this stage of like, it's kind of hilarious, so I can just have a laugh at it.
And, you know, usage on it isn't so high yet. yet that it has become frustrating for me, like eventually maybe, it may need to be addressed, but that's just a maybe. I don't want it to. Like, trust me when I say this, people, that gun is beautiful. They did an excellent job on it. And what I keep on saying is that, man, these things are just getting put into the game. There's so many things getting put into the game that you can see the intention behind it. You can see that they're building things from the ground up that specifically are countering things that are in the game that they'd like to keep in the game, of course, but right now aren't as, previous to it coming in, were nigh uncounterable, right? Bubble is just a really good example of that. We have more and more ways to get at that well as well, and that is without actually nerfing it more, or that is without the suggestion I've had for a while is maybe we need to take a look at the tiers, people. But now I'm just like, with more things coming in the mix, as long as there are counters to be a deterrent, then it doesn't matter that it's a tier 5. It doesn't matter that it's the fastest charging supers. People are going to have to make some trade-offs, and people are going to have to really think about, man, am I really going to commit to this bubble, this well, when there's a few more things in the game? Even though I wouldn't say conditional is the easiest thing to approach a bubble, with. You're still catching people off guard because it's relatively new when you end up taking them out most times. But the point is, to have those counters, same thing with, is it Ballistics? No, it's Thunder. What's the name of the Arc Super? It's not Ballistic Slam.
Thunder Crash?
Thunder Crash, yeah. Thunder Crash. Yeah. I've seen so many clips, so many awesome clips of people timing it just right to get the freeze from conditional finality, on that super. And that's just cool. I'm just... to just wrap it up and move on, because you got me. I wasn't even planning on having like a really long intro, but you just got my brain thinking.
I know.
It's really cool to see conditional finality fill a specific niche that we needed, and if we can keep it the way that it is, keep it very much exotic, and not touch it, and maybe fill in the gaps around it. So, for example, right now it freezes Arcstrider even through the block, right?
Yeah, that's a little much, yeah.
Yeah. What is it called? It's called Whirlwind Guard, right?
Yeah.
Whirlwind Guard. Mm-hmm. That's not okay. Because I can't do anything. I literally can't do anything.
What can you even do?
I can't. The only thing I can do, the 1 or 2 times that I got away from it with Drewski, is I just dodged, to try to bait the shot. But that's incredibly difficult to time. And, I don't expect... if we're going by levels in labs, for example, I wouldn't expect a 2 or even a 3 to get that off most times against a level 4 using that, or even a level 3 using that. It's a relatively forgiving weapon, I would say, because you could just hip fire it to get the target acquisition. I would love to slowly see the buffs to roaming supers, to not pull them back into this is a roaming super meta. I just don't want to see it be like a what do we call them? An elimination super. What do we call
shutdown. Yeah.
Shutdown supers. Thank you. I think we'll be our healthiest with supers when nobody can discern whether it's a shutdown super meta or a roaming super meta. And so I think roaming supers, a few of them just need to be pulled up just a little bit more, like there need to be more consistencies. I don't think Arcstrider's bad per se. I do think that maybe the ground speed needs to be improved just a tiny bit, but even if they don't do that, they could definitely take a look at the consistency of the Whirlwind Guard, because a lot of things like bullets get trapped in there sometimes. It gets really weird, and you just get taken out of it.
Sometimes it's like kills yourself or something. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, I want to ping pong off of what you just said for you were talking about exotics, and it was good to see that one up there because Graviton Lance is kind of doing the same thing right now, and that was something I wanted to touch on anyway. So
almost spit out my water when you said it. I literally gagged right there. I literally spit out my water a little bit when you said that Grav Lance is crazy right now. It's crazy.
It's going crazy, and what's weird about it is they adjusted it to be the same damage output as Revision 0, like the same RPM. They're just like, we're Revision 0 doing fine. Let's put Graviton Lance in that same category as the 2 bursts from Revision 0. And they split the damage differently, but for some reason, everybody's like, this is the thing. This is the stuff. And I haven't used it that much yet, so I can't comment on it as much, but everything that I hear is just like, it's so sticky, it's so easy to use. And then also the explosions after the kill are doing tons of damage to where cleanups are just like nothing. So it's very, very hot right now. But I'm thinking about what you said about like you still want to keep the identity and keep it a good, fun weapon, and Graviton Lance is a lot of people's favorite weapon, even when it was bad. And so I'm wondering what they can do there to adjust it to like kind of like, okay, make sure this doesn't get too crazy, because it was tough to play against. I played I had 2 nights of trials, I think, and at least like a few rounds of it, and the hardest matches that I had were just teams that were playing really smart with Graviton Lance, which is not one of my favorite things to play against, a pulse rifle meta, but it was, I just really had to stay out of the lanes. I was like, I'm not peeking that. Like, there's no way that I'm gonna get laned by 2 people with Grav. Like, I just don't want to play that game. So I was always just finding the closer lanes and closing the gap, and that was the entire way I played this weekend.
Man, I didn't even play this weekend, so I just defer to you. Like, full disclosure again, bro, I've been on Minecraft. Minecraft is the wave. I haven't touched Destiny since the new season. I probably need a little bit of a break. I had some personal stuff going on as well, and so. Man, Minecraft is the wave. I built a house, man. I built like an underwater cavern, you know what I'm saying? I built like a home away from home. I built like a dock, like a vacation house, bro. I'm vibing in there. It is so much fun. I'm so glad that, folks told me to get on that, and I've been streaming a little bit as well.
That's awesome.
So yeah, full disclosure. It's basically between, playing Minecraft and talk about Stompies on Twitter. That's all I've been doing.
Hey, Minecraft is the perfect chill game. I haven't played it in quite a while, but like when we were on the road with the band, I remember there were times where I was like, you go play in front of just like a lot of people and just you're just around a bunch of people all the time, and you go back to the hotel room and you're just like, I'm just going to shut down, turn on Minecraft on the laptop, and zone out. Like, don't talk to me. I'm going to dig this hole. I'm going to build this cavern. I'm going to build this house, and just leave me alone.
Exactly. It's so vibey. And, of course, we definitely don't want to get off on a tangent with this one. But with the new, like, I'm not playing vanilla. I'm playing the modded version. And there's so many different mods. So many different mods. And the mod community, the mod dev community is incredible. They're incredible. They're responsive. People will pop into your streams to see what you think, especially if you're new to the game, like myself. Like, I was playing with my friend, and she was streaming as well. And a mod was in there a mod dev was in there for half the time. And they actually followed up with her and had like a small meeting with her, because she plays these types of games more often than me. She plays, awesome. Factorio. She plays Oxygen Not Included. She got me into Oxygen Not Included as well. And so she had some really good ideas about how to shift some things around with, individual mods, make them better, and maybe a few bugs that we were encountering as well. Man, they're so responsive. So, but I definitely don't want to get off on that. Been playing Minecraft, been loving it. Been paying attention to Destiny 2, of course, kind of on the periphery, second degree through, folks like you and, Twitter and, kind of watching player sentiment around a lot of the changes that are coming up. Just to finish off, because I never like to leave anything hanging. So Drewski, we ended up banning the conditional finality, and now he's the first person. I'm just gonna go back to Drewski. This is a whole episode just on me trying to 1v1 Drewski. And so I swear to God, he's always just the first person on the radar, and it's got to be intentional because it happens. So now he doesn't have conditional finality. You know what? He's on Strand. He suspends me. I don't know if I've gotten him at all. He suspends me now, man. And I'm just like, why are you always the first person, though? That's the thing. You always bait me towards you. Like, that's genius. I don't know. He's a genius with radar manipulation. Like, I'm just gonna go ahead and give it to him. Like, he's probably the best radar manipulation person that I've ever faced, and it's just crazy. It's crazy to see. So I look forward to you coming in.
And say y'all's conversation, like, I don't want to just regurgitate what the last episode was, but one of my main takeaways from it that has me really thinking about my playstyle and how to better it is y'all talked about playing the edge of the radar to manipulate exactly what you're saying, like when people are expecting you or not expecting you. And I was like, man, I literally never think about that when I'm in biz. I'm so blind that I'm just thinking about how to get in as close as possible without the team seeing, and I'm not thinking about, okay, their radar is about here, like that's just the next level, and I'm just not there yet.
Yep.
It was really cool. That's all I want to say is that conversation was really cool.
It was really interesting. And just to briefly springboard off of that, I just want everybody to remember that it's something that you definitely can get used to. Definitely. Mm-hmm. Like, if you think about that, listen to the last podcast. There's a particular section, just like Lego said, the last podcast episode 298. We're almost at 300. That's crazy.
I know, yeah.
And listen specifically for the part where Drewski's talking about playing on the edge of the radar. And it just comes down to if you are able to define your ranges with a particular weapon. So I'm a hand cannon main, and I definitely have a feel for where my hand cannon is effective and where it's not effective in the sense that I can 3-tap with it with that type of damage profile, right? And when I can't, when I'm outside of that range, I don't have to think about it too much. I just am a hand cannon expert. That's my weapon. So I know if you can do that because you love auto rifles and all your auto rifles are around 35 meters or whatnot, 32 meters. If you love pulse rifles and you generally know a range for that, scout rifles, you generally know 70, 80 meters or whatnot and stuff like that. If you I mean, I guess scouts you really don't have to, but you get my point.
Unless you're Lego and you're using Cascade Point.
But fusion rifles another, generally people know when their fusion rifle, where their fusion rifle is going to be effective in an engagement, the distance between you and that enemy. And you have a feeling, a spider sense goes off in the back of your mind, right? When you're just out of range or you're just inside range, but it's going to be a tougher shot and you've got to control those bolts more, things like that. Those nuances from just being like, that's your niche, that's your weapon. That's the same sort of thing I'm talking about with the edge of the radar. Because it's a particular distance, a particular meters, and you will get used to how many meters somebody is in front of you to the degree that you'll be able to tell that. And then you just move around maps, right? Once you know, okay, well, I'm on Endless Vale and I'm right there at the entry down the long path down the middle. And somebody is at Cubby on the opposite side, and that's the edge of the radar. You'll get to understanding and internalizing just what that distance looks like based on waypoints, based on points on the map, right?
Right.
You'll be like, oh, okay, well, this is the edge because I'm right here at the entrance to this lane right here, and there at Cubby, that's the edge right there, and stuff like that. So
it's good stuff.
Yeah, really
it's
interesting.
Something I'm going to think about a lot more. Yeah, that's really good.
Yep. Yeah, radar baits is like huge at that high level, like huge. Like the baits are just as important as the pushes, honestly.
Well, I do want to get to the weapons that we're going to go over in just a second, those ritual weapons and the Iron Banner stuff, but I did want to hit just like two things about my week, and then if you have anything else you want to finish up, we'll do that as well. Gotcha. But the Last Wish weapons that came, like Season of the Deep is cool. Story's been cool. I haven't played this week's one. I played the initial last week one. It's been fun. I did really enjoy the dungeon. I think that we already talked about that a little bit. Cool glaive weapon in there for me for PvP. But Last Wish revamp has just been, the farm is so easy to do. If you haven't done it, you got to do it the next time it rolls around as the raid. If you're listening, you're like, oh, I don't know, raids, but it's so easy to farm the first encounter. You do not have to do hardly anything else. I did just the first encounter over and over again for like 2 or 3 days and have every single weapon available. Craft. And there's like really good perks in there, perk combos in there that aren't on anything else, including a competitor for, we're going to talk about the new Iron Banner fusion. Tachyon Force is like a direct competitor with it, and it's an amazing weapon and you can craft it. So really good stuff in Last Wish. You should definitely get in there and check that out.
And you said it exactly right. I'll let you finish with that second thing you're about to say in a second, but you said it exactly right. The fact that it's not even so much, yes, there are some new perks, individual perks on those weapons from Last Wish that are cool. Some of them very impactful. Some of them in ways that you would expect. Most of them, I would say, in ways that you would expect. But it really, where the Last Wish weapons shine right now with the revamp is the combinations, man. The synergy, and the one that I continue to bring up is Age-Old Bond, right? The 340, I think it's 340 RPM. But either way, it's a high impact auto rifle that you get from Last Wish, and you can get destabilizing rounds, I believe, and you can get what is it called? The overshield.
It's the 360 RPM and repulsor brace.
Right. Repulsor brace. Yeah, I think that may be the first time that we've seen those two able to be doubled up like that in different columns. So that's what I'm talking about. Shattering Bone is probably the one that I've heard the most chattering about. You like that? You like that? Chattering about. The perk combinations on that are supposedly like insane. I haven't even spec'd, but I've heard it from several people that Chattering Bone is something to look out for. And that's one of those weapons too, one of those subfamilies that I feel like it's oftentimes on rapid fire primaries or on lightweight primaries that the TTK by itself isn't the most standout, but it's the perks, especially damage perks. But it's the perks that really make them shine. And so supposedly Chattering Bone has quite a few options and some really, really nice synergies between that first and second column, or however you look at it, the third and fourth column, that really make that weapon. So excited to get in there myself because, like I said, I've been on Minecraft.
It's good. And there's other stuff too, like crafting, like the bow even has golden tricorn, and it's a solar golden tricorn. So you can stack golden tricorn on radiant and keep radiant going because it's solar. So there's a fragment for solar that every time you get a solar kill, it refreshes radiant a little bit. And so that was my problem with a golden tricorn tripwire canary from a few seasons ago. I could get the one shots going in the crucible, but radiant would run out and then I couldn't anymore. And so now you can it does have golden tricorn, which is crazy for PvE, not as much in PvP, but it has swashbuckler and you can craft it. So 6.5 seconds of one shots with radiant, and then you keep radiant going because it's a solar weapon. So there's a lot of potential there. And then the Tachyon Force has combinations, like you said, combinations. You've got under pressure, and you're finally able to craft under pressure with high impact reserves or rangefinder.
That's crazy. I didn't know it got rangefinder too. See, I haven't even, man, when we go over these last wish weapons, it's going because we are going to do that, right?
Yeah, we can do it. Yeah,
I say we do it. Oh, I forgot we're the hosts.
Yeah, because we didn't go over the reprised weapons for the last raid that got reprised, but I mean these ones, and there were a few good ones, mainly for PvE. I felt like but these ones are like
these are so spicy.
Every single weapon, it is crazy.
Okay.
So cool. Yeah, we'll probably spend some time there, but yeah, Tachyon, really great fusion. I can't believe they let us craft it, honestly. Like my whole Discord was like, there's no way they're gonna put rangefinder as a crafted thing on here, and then they did. We're like, no way.
Well, hopefully it was one of those things where it's just like, well, we're getting the rework in season 22. Let them have their fun, now, which I'm completely behind. It does sound problematic. I will go ahead and say that it does sound kind of problematic, but. It's for a season, people. It's for a season.
We'll see how many
I think that's really spicy, and the loot does drive this game more than anything else, and that's important to kind of keep in perspective, whether it be PvP or PvE. So engagement is everything. Pop is everything.
Yeah. That's all I really got. I played some comp. I got my placement. I got the comp sniper. Tried it out. I haven't tried it out enough to like really get onto it, but I got a build that can get 100 AE, which is kind of crazy. Actually being able to hit in-air stuff with Discord and Elemental Capacitor. So Discord, a perk that we'll talk about later, because I have a lot to say about that, but I'm going to save it till we get to the weapons. So that's all my stuff for this week.
Listen to this, folks, too. Like I was joking around with Lego in the pre-show stuff when we were kind of prepping. And Discord it's going to become the new Cascade Point. This dude cannot get over Cascade Point. He wants to put it on everything. I'm just like, sometimes in my head, I'm just like, well, Lego Cascade Point,
it's perfect.
Is that going to be on every roll? You know what I'm saying? That you recommend. Is that going to be at the forefront? And now I feel like Discord is also going to be at the forefront of everything. It's going to be, hello, I'm Tony, ill physics, and then it's going to be, and I'm Cascade Point, or I'm Discord, and it's just crazy. We're just going to have to rename your whole moniker.
But here's the thing: is now that they're giving us this, it's like this is what it's like. It's like. Mercules went over to Bungie and he said, what is a perk that Lego would love? And he built Cascade Point. And then I know, I don't even think he worked on Cascade Point, but like, so, and then they were like, what would complement Cascade Point? Let's make this perk called Discord that gives you under pressure basically and snapshot and gives you just it replenishes your special ammo. Like what? You know, so we're gonna talk about it because it is just everything is just, it feels like it's built for me these days, and I'm loving it because they're all mini games. There's so many people out there that aren't gonna like this, but it is my kind of mini game. Swapping back and forth weapons, conserving your ammo, using it the right way. God, I love it.
You're not alone though, because a lot of these perks too work really well for double primary type players. Right? I've got a friend and a community member who is a double scout rifle main, and I rarely see those in the in PvP. I've got somebody on Twitter that always makes it a point to let me know that they're a double hand cannon main. You know, so we'll talk about Lucky Pants, or we'll talk about, you know, stuff that they utilize in order to kind of buff that build or to support that build. And so you know, the way that I see Discord, Cascade Point, some of these new perks, and doubling down on the synergy between them, the swapping, which I feel like really came into play with maybe double harmony, is the prominence. I think there might have been something before that, but
that was
that's
like
the first time.
Thing.
Yeah, for PvP in particular, where I was just like, okay, this is okay. You got a double harmony build. They both support each weapon, and kills on each weapon supports kills that could potentially get. You know, you could potentially get on engagements and then in the next engagement, right? The person after. So we're going to push with that too, right? Because we're on timers. So it just incentivizes for you to keep things moving, which is what PvP is all about. That's why the passivity is a problem, and kind of ensuring that we drill some of that passive play that we've been seeing for the last year and a half in the Crucible out of you know, people's play styles. You know, obviously there's a time and place for everything. I'm not saying that, you know, more defensive passive play shouldn't be a play style or shouldn't be viable. Just saying that right now it's too easy. It's too easy to and it's incentivized that with how the builds are playing out. So it's just nice, is what I'm trying to say, to see more of these timed perks, flip weapon perks that further incentivize you to be searching for that next engagement, to get some sort of strong benefit out of your second weapon that you end up flipping to, or you know, I guess the simplistic version of it would still be something like a kill clip. You know, you get a kill, and kill clip's active for, what is it, 7-10 seconds? I can't remember which one. And you know what? This is a show where I should know. One sec. Hovering over it now. Okay.
No, it's 5 seconds.
5 seconds. Thank you. So just more of those games, more of those games in the games, more of those, you know, swap weapon, but on a timer, but you get like a pretty substantial benefit off of that swap for your second gun. And yeah, I just, like I said, see it as a particular buff for my double primary folks to make their primaries even more effective. And they don't want to use special weapons. That's the thing. I love it, and I love niches.
That's so interesting, and you really nail it for me, because it's the movement and it's the way the mini game to push and like keep that movement going. And it came at a perfect time with Strand, where the emphasis is on actions per minute, and that's what I feel like I'm doing. And the more that you feel like you're doing that and successfully doing it, the more fun the game feels for me. And so that's why I love these perks so much.
You said it. That nails it right there. And I forgot about the actions per minute. Honestly, and we should mention that, you know, often, because that does seem like, not only have they stated that is, you know, kind of an overarching goal for how the gameplay should feel in the coming, you know, year, 2 years, and how they're kind of guiding the gameplay, but yeah, that does seem like it's actually coming into play, and you can see it. Last thing that I'll say, just because you made me think of this, per the usual, this guy just always making me thinking, is I just love the nuanced depth, specifically of, we were talking about a rangefinder on fusions, for example, but how certain perks, it's intentional, certain perks sure, look are better on certain archetypes. You know, it might be rangefinder might be really good and work a certain way for hand cannons, but it's particularly juiced on fusion rifles for reasons we could go into. I think you might actually mention it a little bit later, but then also you can tell that it's intentional. Zen Moment is a good example of how that depth is kind of intentional, and how it gives you 2 stacks of Zen Moment if you end up getting is it 2 stacks? Yeah, per hit. With a hand cannon, and a scout, but it gives you less for other like archetypes of weapons, basically.
Same thing with Encore, with precision hits giving you 2 stacks versus, non-precision hits just giving you 1.
Exactly. Same thing with Volt Shot in PvE and the different multipliers per archetype. So Volt Shot doesn't work as effectively on certain weapons, but if you kind of pay attention to which weapons it's particularly effective with in PvE, then you can do some massive damage, and that's depending upon like what weapon it's on, what archetype, what maybe even what subfamily, and then we're talking about archetypes here, but and then maybe like a boss versus a major and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm just saying that I love it. I was about to curse because I was just like, man, I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
I love the depth.
Me too. I'm with you.
And they're continuing to build into that to the point where shows like this, they're just giving us content because the average player probably isn't going to be paying attention to the fact that Volt Shot, for example, has. If you wouldn't have told me, I would have never known. And I'm not an average player. I play all the time, right? I'm definitely in that high, playtime, and I still wouldn't have recognized with regards to Volt Shot. I would have just expected it to be the same, efficacy across all archetypes. And then I wouldn't have known without you either that, those tiers of how effective Volt Shot is depending upon the archetype only works in PvE. It doesn't even work in PvP. But the point is, love the depth. Please keep it up. You guys are killing it with these weapons and with these perks.
With the perks specifically, there's some really cool stuff. Oh, there's something else I want to get into, but I haven't deep dived it enough to. I'm not going to talk about it. But Discord, the perk, and the new hip fire grip reticle, not hip fire, but the hip fire reticle that they've added in, depending on your field of view, like the hip fire looks different and you can see your accuracy and aim assist cones. You and Drewski were talking about it actually with the BXR, and that is basically that cone is on like everything now and in hip fire mode, and it got me looking at different weapons compared to each other, because it's like there's this secret accuracy sauce that varies per weapon that isn't in the stats, and I'm about to go down a huge rabbit hole with it because I never see anybody talk about it, but it's clearly very obvious on fusion rifles in particular, and so I'm gonna start looking into all that soon, but I'm not ready to talk about it here or anything.
Yeah, all good. Well, I can't wait.
It's just my most recent deep dive.
Most recent one, Jack. This is why we love Lego, though, is when we watch a Lego video, we're getting the sauce. We're getting the sauce. Like, he's going to take it to the logical end of wherever that rabbit hole can go. It's no longer a hole. We're going to do it tonight, too.
We're going to do it tonight on some of these weapons.
It's true. So last couple things, and I'll let you finish up, and then we'll get into the weapons, is first off, shout out to Kat. I just had this thought, and I'll mention this as well. Maybe I'll DM, or maybe I'll mention it on Twitter, but I was just having a thought. I love D2 Foundry. Love D2 Foundry. Kat is the main dev behind D2 Foundry. You can go to d2foundry.gg. It's a weapon build website, I guess is what you would call it.
It's like light.gg or Gunsmith, just very
Gunsmith
focused
is the spiritual predecessor.
Yeah, exactly. And God, so good for adding up damage and stuff now. Like, so many things I would use the spreadsheet for before, I can just do it with a visual ease through D2 Foundry.
And you said it exactly right. I mean, much love, and I won't take anything away from the folks who have worked on the spreadsheet, created it, continue to build that out. But man, like, D2 Foundry just does it for me. And so what I was going to say is, I hope that there's a way that we can add some sort of visual indicator denoting where a particular weapon's stat sits amongst the other weapons within the subfamily. So, for example, if the aim assist is relatively low for that weapon amongst that particular subfamily of weapon, it'd be nice to have some sort of indicator to visually be able to see that, like, off the rip as soon as we open it up. So, similar to, for example, like when you add a particular perk, I add corkscrew rifling to this Randy's throwing knife right here. You see that, the range, stability, and handling go to green. They were initially white and they go to green, denoting that you got some sort of benefit in those categories. Versus if I end up equipping extended barrel, you see that the range went to green because you get plus 10 handling. Plus 10 range there. But you get the handling goes to red because it's probably because it's just below the baseline, basically.
Yeah.
If I end up adding in like that handling back, it actually goes to yellow. That's what we were talking about. I was like, man, there's sometimes where it goes to yellow. I've never really seen that.
Yeah, I see what it is now. Yeah, it does that whenever you add something and then something else compensates for it. Like you take away from a perk and then you, I guess, add to it. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, that was kind of just like my thought. I'm not trying to be picky. But man, I just love this website so much. That would be the final one for me where I'd be like, I'm probably, no disrespect, but I'm probably not going to look at the massive breakdown spreadsheet. D2 Foundry just does it for me. I'm a very visual person, so it's just a really, really nice presentation, and it allows me to prep for these podcasts really easily as well. So,
of course,
shout out most definitely. And then, since we were talking about perks, the last thing before I let you finish up with this segment is a bunch of new perks, of course. And the one that stuck out to me a little bit that we haven't talked about, I've heard nobody talk about actually, is Invisible Hand. It was an interesting way to do weapons forgiveness, particularly on primaries, which we've been asking for a lot. And since Mercules has been there, Mercules was one of the people who were at the forefront of this as well. Between him and Cool Guy were the ones that I think of often whenever we talk about, or whenever there was a lot of chatter around primary weapon forgiveness as a way to boost primary weapon play. And so it does seem like, at the very least, since Mercules has been there, they've been really receptive to that. And we've gotten a good example of that. I don't know I think they changed it since then, since Mercules dropped, is 450 auto rifles. I tell my people all the time that 450 auto rifles are special. 450 RPM auto rifles is what I'm talking about, are special because I think all the other auto rifles, in order to hit their optimal TTK, their lowest TTK, you have to hit all headshots. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure all the other auto rifles you have to hit all headshots, just at base, no damage perks, et cetera, et cetera. But 450 RPM auto rifles, you can hit. I think it's 10 and 2, if I remember correctly. It's like
yeah, no, that's right. It's 6 headshots, one body shot.
Is it 6 and
1?
Okay.
Brazil. That's at Tin Brazil, of course.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. But yeah, my point is that there's a degree of forgiveness to 450 RPM auto rifles, and that's one of the levers that they've utilized in order to give a little bit more forgiveness to primary weapons, especially underutilized ones, usage stat-wise. And it's nice to see this Invisible Hand perk. I didn't even explain what it was, but the new Invisible Hand perk is described as repeatedly missing targets increases the weapon's stability for a short time. This buff lasts for a short duration after a target is hit. So we're not talking about rapid hit, for example, where you hit shots and you get stability, right? Which I guess caters towards a particular segment or experience level or skilled player. We're talking about kind of giving that weapon forgiveness, maybe for the folks who are just starting out on the game, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just kind of blew my mind. It was really cool to see that, because I've long talked about how we need to be making sure that we provide as much of an and incentive, I guess, for our new light players to keep on playing, and for our population to increase both in PvE, PvP. There's changes like this that need to continue to be made, both, I would say, on a macro level and also on a micro level like this. And so it was just really cool to see this, because it's not going to break the game, and this Invisible Hand perk is not going to break the game, but what it does is it does assist folks specifically that maybe are just starting out, missing some shots, and to help their gunplay feel better when they finally do hit it, right? Because that's what it is. It's about that reward cycle in your mind. It's about I don't know whether it's dopamine. It's, somebody else can pick the neurochemical that it ends up activating. But miss, but then I hit, and it feels really good. It feels even better than I expected it to feel. And then I get a kill off of it. Oh, I'm playing this game again. And that's all I need. I need more people to get hooked in.
I'm glad that you phrase it that way that you did, because it's easy to see a perk and be like, oh, why create a suboptimal perk, that isn't going to help me be optimal. And like the way that you have phrased it with new players and lower level players that are trying to get better at the Crucible, it does sound like a cool perk. It does sound like it could give that hit of adrenaline of, oh, this thing feels awesome. So that's pretty cool. I hadn't really considered that side of it. I know that was what it was probably built for, but still, it was nice to hear you say it and really get it fresh in my mind in that way.
Yeah, that was the first way, because I've just been thinking so much about new lights and player pop because of how much that's got to be, I've said it before, the number one thing that would benefit me, honestly, as a player. As things become more and more restrictive with skill-based matchmaking and things like that, population size becomes even more important to make sure that at that top end where the bell curve ends up dipping, that I have as many players still within that top end. And when the population's, not low, not growing, not sustained, then my top end makes a lot of games unplayable. And so some people might see invisible hand that's just like, well, why are we just giving folks who are missing shots some sort of benefit? Like that sounds like, no, you should probably think of it on the other end. It's not hurting the game. I haven't seen anything where this perk is like OP, where you're getting like max stability off of missing a shot or something like that. And even then, all I'm saying is that's the first way that I thought about it, because we need those folks. We need those folks to become invested in the game and to get hooked like us.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I think we are on to talk about some of these weapons. But before we do that, we want to thank some new Guardians for their generous support. We got Tech One and Wash. Thank you for your pledge, and thanks to all the ongoing patrons for keeping the lights on. Thank you for making the show happen. We also want to say thanks to our ongoing sponsor Guardians. They give on a massive level every month. We've got I'm K Rose, a Modern Viking, Bryce Aroni, Moonlight, Deacon, This Moment, Shazzle, and Askian Monk.
Nice. Yeah, much appreciate you folks. And if you'd like to support the show, please visit DestinyMassiveBreakdowns.com and click on the link to Patreon. You'll get access to a members only channel in the Discord, behind the scenes info, and input on the future of the show, plus access to our legendary annual merch drop. As a reminder, you can also earn a shout out by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Ratings are great, but the reviews really help us to spread the word and get more ears tuned in every week. Also, just keep in mind as well that if you want to give general feedback regarding the show, particularly constructive feedback on how to continue to improve upon what we do, which is super important to both myself and Lego, we have a ton of outlets outside of the reviews, such as the Destiny Massive Breakdowns Discord. Just feel free to, just add us, ping us so that we see it. Because that Discord goes crazy, especially the Patreon. That Patreon channel.
I got something to say about Patreon channel. I'm going to take credit for it. They're probably not going to give me credit for it, but I'm going to take credit for it. I've been speaking the gospel of range on fusion rifles for so long, and when I first joined the Discord, I was like, well, Lego, you and your range, get out of here. Like you need some stability. Stability is a thing. It does affect your aim assist. Drop off values after using the weapon the first time. But I'm like, oh no, all range stability's a myth. Don't worry about it. And I got people agreeing with me now. Today they tagged me and they were like, actually, I'm with you. Even on mouse and keyboard, I go all range on my fusion rifle. And I'm like, what? It was Faden was the one who was doing it first.
This is a paradigm shift type thing, because even me as a non-fusion rifle user, just period, stability has always been the thing where people stability. Wow, look at you.
Well, that's exactly why I started using the phrase stability is a myth. I've said that in so many different videos. I know that's not true. It does things, but
that's how I feel about counterbalance. I'm glad you said that, because it does things, baby. I swear it does things. It's not a myth, right? Right, Anakin?
Here's the thing with stability, though. So many people were saying that because I can't remember what developer said it, but somebody on one of the podcasts at some point was like, oh yeah, you want stability, and everybody clung on to that. And I was like, guys, oh my gosh, fusion rifles, they need range if you're going to compete with a shotgun, because otherwise you're in shotgun range and they're going to kill you. So there's a good reason to run range. Even if you're not great at hitting your shots at it, you need to get good and learn how to hit your shots with it. Otherwise you're going to die to a shotgun. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. But anyway, okay, massive fusion rifle rant about the patrons, but thank you, patrons, you're awesome.
Yeah, you folks are awesome, and that chat just in general is always going. It's like I click on it could be a half an hour later and it's always like 50 messages more. So that channel moves. So yes, of course, you can hit us up in the Destiny Massive Breakdowns Discord or our personal socials like Twitter. We take all of it to heart because we always want to give you all the best show possible every week. And also, finally, thanks to the Destiny Massive Breakdowns editors, Nettie Smith and Autodidactos, for their hard work on the show, and Podcast versus Enemies, the Destiny PvE show that explains it all. If you think we sound great, know that it is 100% because of those folks. So thank you so much, Nettie and Autodidactos.
Absolutely. I listen to a lot of podcasts out there, and I listen to it's funny, when we first started doing this together, Tony, I didn't listen to our podcast much, and now that we've like got a groove and kind of have a system, I do listen to it a bit sometimes to like just get a feel for what we sound like and how to improve in the future and stuff. And I'm always amazed after listening to so many other podcasts. I'm like, man, Nettie is killing it with the sound department. It sounds great every week. Yeah, so
I would completely agree. Yeah.
Let's talk about some weapons. We got some Season of the Deep weapons. Let's start with the ritual activity weapons for Season of the Deep. First up, we got the Crucible Rapid Fire Kinetic Scout Rifle. Randy's throwing knife is back. It used to be, this was like the pinnacle Crucible drop in, was it Comp that we first saw this thing? I think so. I think it was Comp. Either that or it was a pinnacle.
Was it like back when we had the Glory system? Was it the 2100?
I think it was either that or it was a pinnacle drop from like the activities. But either way, it is a rapid fire kinetic scout rifle, 260 RPM. And this is another cool thing. D2 Foundry is good about listing actual RPM in games. So even though it says 260, it's actually 257.14 RPM if you count the frames. But that is a 0.93 second time to kill value against Tin Razil. If you remember last 2 episodes ago, we talked about Taraxipos from the Guardian games, and that's
correct. Scout rifle from the Guardian games, Omelan, 200 RPM.
Yeah, so that one was, I believe it was a 0.9 seconds, so it is very similar to that, but the bullets shoot out faster and makes it feel a little more forgiving. I do want to say that stats-wise, for whatever reason, I feel like a lot of the weapons we're going to talk about today fall into this category, but because it like hasn't been updated, like keeps all the same stats. It has the lowest range of rapid fire scouts at 23 and the lowest stability at 39 and aim assist at 63. So it actually has the worst stats of any rapid scout in nearly every category. It's really weird because I like this gun. Like I shouldn't on paper, but something about Randy's just feels kind of good. It's a little unwieldy, but I do like it still. But I also just like the rapid fire scouts. I think like Trustee, classic. This one has 1 extra zoom. It's 20 zoom compared to Trustee has 19. I think that's the lowest one, but it's still pretty low on the zoom. I think just low zoom rapid fire scouts feel good is what I feel about it.
Okay. Yeah, I can get down with that. So what type of perks are we talking about on this thing?
Oh man.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. So we do want, as we talk about these, it's not like where we talk about crafted weapons where we would say, okay, craft this is the one you want, forget about the others, because this is Destiny RNG we're talking about here. These perk pulls are massive. So we're just going to name some stuff if we see something and we're like, oh, hey, watch out for this. Oh, hey, watch out for that. You know, in the first column, we've got things like perpetual motion, rapid hit, Zen moment. Those are all going to be classics. That Zen moment now giving you that flinch resistance is going to be great. Well-rounded. With Strand goes crazy. It's so easy to get well-rounded ×2 for that plus 20 range stability and handling. Really great. Shot swap is cool. Offhand strike, I want to talk about that for a second. Just one moment. I despise offhand strike on primaries. I haven't found a single weapon that I'm like,
I'm the same way.
Oh yeah, offhand strike, that's cool on a primary. No, it's great for special weapons and that's it, in my opinion. I want to see it on a sniper is what I want to see. I wonder if
I was thinking the exact same thing as you at that exact same time. Could you imagine it on a sniper with an active offhand perk and hipfire grip?
Oh, that would be sick. That's what I need. So there actually is a hand cannon this season. Kat was talking about it from D2 Foundry. She was tweeting about it, is that there's an offhand strike hip fire grip hand cannon this season. I can't remember which one has it. And then my response was, that's cool, but I want the cascade point hip fire grip perk, because then you could do like a legendary last word. You get a kill with another weapon, you swat a word, pop, 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 pop. Like that.
This guy is the dream. Point, I can't take it.
Actions per minute, baby. Let's go. More like per half a fraction of a second.
Yeah, for real. Yeah,
but
spitter.
Yeah. So speaking of, it does have the new perk. Randy's does have the new perk Discord, which I want to take a second to talk about before we get into the rest of them, because it is a brand new perk. So let's break it down. It activates just like Harmony. So when you get a kill with another weapon, you've got 3 seconds of this perk Discord stowed, and then when you bust it out, pull that weapon out, you've got 7 seconds of Discord active. It grants 0.75 times ADS multiplier, so snapshot on a primary weapon is 0.5 times, but remember Discord, you can have this on special weapons too, so on a special weapon, snapshot's only 0.8 times ADS multiplier, so this is actually faster than snapshot on a sniper or fusion or anything like that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Also great for shotguns. If you get a kill with a primary and you've got 3 seconds to swap to it, and then 7 seconds of snapshot too. It's pretty cool. And then on top of that, there's a huge accuracy boost. No one's talking about this because it isn't tested yet. I had to go in and test it myself. I don't have the exact numbers because I've never done accuracy testing before, but I played around with the hip fire reticule that I was talking about at the beginning of the podcast and measured the circle to the new circle of when Discord was active. And and then I took for reference, because I've never done this before, I did the same thing with under pressure, from no under pressure active to my last bullet, what it looked like. And this was in a fusion rifle, but should be about the same thing. And so it looked about the same. It looked about the same increases under pressure at max. So this is a huge accuracy boost. Under pressure is one of the best perks you can get at the end of the mag. So for it to be that big of an accuracy boost, and then on top of all of this, you get 30 airborne effectiveness. So basically you got a version of snapshot, you got a version of under pressure, and you got threat of ascent, all pushed together into one perk that activates like Harmony.
And Threat of Ascent, how much is Threat? So if folks don't remember, Threat of Ascent is a fragment on the Strand subclass. How much airborne effectiveness do you get when Threat of Ascent is active?
I'm almost positive that it's 30. I'm going to double check that, but I think it's 30. And so that's really cool that it's like the same thing. So if you, what we're referring to Threat of Ascent, you grapple and it gives you that. And it is 30. Yeah, 30 airborne effectiveness. That's for 15 seconds. 15 seconds.
Yeah, that's right. 15 seconds. That's chonky. That's chonky.
Really
So Discord
long.
is 7 seconds for folks who might not have caught that. But interesting.
It feels good. I haven't used it on this weapon, but I'm really excited to try it out on some primaries, because so far I've only used it on a fusion rifle, the new Iron Banner one, which we'll talk about in a bit, and it felt spicy, like made a world of difference to the accuracy of that weapon. So I'm really excited to try it on here, and it's going to be one that I focus on for my role. So Randy's, we talked about how it has bad stats. Let's look at the fourth column real quick before I jump over to roles and let you talk about anything you see here too. Obviously, Cascade Point is here. Worth pointing out, Cascade Point and Discord activate the same way, getting a kill with another weapon, but Cascade Point's timers are different. So once you swap to your weapon with Cascade Point, you only have 2.5 seconds once you pull out the weapon, whereas Discord will be active for 7 seconds, so you don't have near as long, whereas Harmony, which is also found on this weapon, lasts the same exact amount of time as Discord, which is very intentional, I feel, because look at the perk names. It's called Harmony, and the other one is called Discord. They're like opposites.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, okay.
But they synergize, which is really cool.
Yes.
So it's perfect synergy. 3 seconds of stowed, 7 seconds of operation. So for weapons that get both, it's definitely going to be something to look out for.
Okay. Very cool.
Last two things here, I guess. We've got Rampage. It's not a very big buff, but this does shoot pretty fast, so could be nice. Kill Clip, those would be like the 2 damage ones, but also Box Breathing, which I know you had written down too. Do you think you could enlighten me on Box Breathing? I remember that it helped on this one, but I can't remember how much.
Yeah, so I'm not a scout rifle main, but like I said, my double scout rifle guy always puts me on to box breathing. Box breathing seems to be a very popular choice on scout rifles since Hung Jury, and before that there was another scout rifle, I can't remember, I feel like was maybe like a rapid fire, maybe it was a blacksmith weapon, but we'd have to look it up, which we're not probably going to do right now. I'd have to really plug some things in, but nonetheless, box breathing is always on my radar for scout rifles, especially since Hung Jury came into the meta here. But after 1.5 seconds ADS, you get that 10% increased aim assist fall off distance and also an increased precision multiplier by 1. So with this weapon right here, we're talking about initially it's a 0.93 seconds TTK. with box breathing active, you get a zero point 0.7 seconds TTK with all 4 headshots from tier 10 to tier 6 resilience. And then you get some forgiveness for the folks, I mean, basically hunters, again, that are tier 5 and below. It's 3 heads in 1 body. So that 0.7 second TTK is always what I kind of came back around to when comparing these damage perks. Obviously, Cascade Point, gives you that 0.56 second TTK with Surge times 3, 0.42. You already mentioned this, gets, 0.42 seconds with a 4-shot up to 8 resilience. But my point is, in mentioning that, is really about the 0.56. Outside of Cascade Point, the other damage perks, you're not getting anything lower than 0.7, I believe. I checked through most of the damage. I'm pretty sure, even with Surge, I'm pretty sure I tapped in Surge times 3 on all of it just to make sure you're getting forgiveness around that 0.7. Basically, sometimes, like for example, with Kill Clip, 0.7 TTK with 3 head, 1 body, all resiliences. With Rampage, you get a 0.7 TTK with 4. Just at Rampage times 1, you get a 0.7 TTK with 4 heads, all resiliences. That's interesting. I might have to actually double check that. I think that's why I included Rampage. Let me just quickly, just give me 1 second, everybody. Let me just quickly double check that to make sure.
That makes sense. And as I'm thinking about that, I do want to mention Cascade Point. Tony mentioned the 0.56 second TTK with Cascade Point. That's because, reminder, just like Taraxipos, it gets the better scaler of Cascade Point. Cascade Point has 2 different scalers it uses, and Scouts get the better one. So it jumps from its base 260 RPM to 428.
That's crazy.
Which is very, very fast. And I use this, and that was the first drop I got, was a gut shot straight Cascade Point. And oh my goodness, I shredded some people in quick play. I would not recommend that exact role in most competitive settings, but for quick play, it was something else. I had a teammate make me Radiant at one point, so I had the Radiant plus Surge times 3, which is a 0.56 second all body shot up to 5 resil, no headshots. 0.56 seconds. I did it. I actually killed 2 people that way, and was like, oh my. That's the clip that I have posted on Twitter that people were like, we need this gun. I need to get this gun.
I've seen a lot of chatter around this gun just in general. I feel like it dropped. It's got the downside to the RNG element of it is in each category, it's got so many perks in the third and fourth column. We're talking about something similar to a bottom dollar, or similar to, other playlist weapons. Specifically, playlist weapons oftentimes have a lot of perks, because if it's a core playlist, they expect people to play a lot, and therefore that RNG has to be a little looser, basically a little looser. Yeah. So yes, I did double check, because I was just like, really, Rampage times 1? But yes, Rampage times 1, just times 1 nets the 0.7 TTK with all 4 headshots, all resilience values.
Very interesting.
So I thought that was interesting. I'm glad I plugged that in, because I was about to dismiss it, considering there's no comparison sometimes. A lot of times Kill Clip ends up, for example, a really easy example is a 120 hand cannon. Kill Clip, you can get a 2-tap off with that, right?
Right.
But Rampage, you're not going to get a 2-tap off with Rampage times 1. You'd have to go to Rampage times 2, I believe, in order to potentially do that, and that might not even be all resiliences. My point is, a lot of times when I see Kill Clip, 0.7 TTK, 3 heads, 1 body, all resiliences, Rampage times 1, it can't net the same TTK. In this particular case, it actually does. You have to get all 4 heads, but you still get that same 0.7 second TTK. And of course, the advantage to Rampage versus Kill Clip is that you don't have to reload in order to get the benefit of it. I mean, you got 17 in the magazine on this weapon, so you don't have to. I mean, Rampage might actually be the play. I mean, you'd have to hit 4 heads though.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty cool.
That's the only thing to kind of keep in mind, and you want to make sure that you build into it or pay attention to the RNG that you get in that third column, just to make sure that you get some good stability to hit those 4 heads if you're going to build into Rampage. But otherwise, you got Focus Fury there. It'll also net you the 0.7 TTK, but I just dismiss it because it's just more work. It's a 0.7. It's not as if you're going to get more of a benefit. The only thing about Focus Fury is if you do end up doing it, I still don't recommend it, because it's based on hitting headshots through half of the magazine, and there's 17 in the magazine, people. So that's a lot of headshots before you can finally get it. If you finally hit it, though, that's 10 seconds of 0.7 TTK. So it's interesting, but I wouldn't, again, recommend it for most folks. And then, of course, you got Harmony as well, just for completeness. I wrote that down. It would also net you the 0.7 TTK. But the biggest reason I wouldn't recommend this one, similar to I wouldn't recommend Focus Fury, is that the base handling on this thing is 20. So this is probably not a gun to build into double harmony build with, or even just depend upon harmony on this weapon, just because that swap speed is just so sluggish.
I don't know. I would actually say, well, two things there. One, I agree with you that I don't think this is the weapon for harmony, but only because Cascade Point is so much better, and it like four shotting someone at 0.42 seconds is crazy. With the 4 headshots up to 8 resil, that's wild. You need surge times 3 to do that, but still it's crazy. And so that's like so much faster than harmony, and you can feel it. Also, it flinches the opponent like big time. So one more reason. Yeah. But also two, handling's a funny thing these days with all the perks we have, because a lot of weapons more and more are getting steady hands, and steady hands gives you that 100 handling on all your weapons for like 8.5 seconds. So it depends on your build, and I for sure am going to be looking for a Cascade Point roll on this thing, obviously, as we have said, Mr. Cascade Point. But to Tony's credit, the stats do concern me. Like, there are major problems with the stats. My question to you, Tony, is, we mentioned all these damage perks: Harmony, Focus Fury, Rampage, Kill Clip, Box Breathing, Cascade Point. Which one appeals to you the most? Because to me, like, if I wasn't a Cascade Point freak, which I am, I'm gonna take that one away from me for a second. Out of the others, Kill Clip, Rampage, Focus Fury, Harmony, and Box Breathing is such an easy, like, you don't have to do anything. You just get a 0.7 second TTK, 4 headshots, up to 10 resil. Like, that's it feels like a no-brainer to me.
If we're talking about ease of use, that'd be the no-brainer for me, honestly. And it's probably why scout rifle enthusiasts, gravitate towards it.
For sure.
So yeah, I mean, you could have it active every single fight. Right? You could have it active every single fight. It's similar to the way that I always think about box breathing is like opening shot. That's the way that I think about it. But it's opening shot that's kind of juiced. You do have the downside of, opening shot, there's no 1.5 seconds ADS. But on the flip side, with box breathing, if you take that time with that 1.5 seconds, which you're generally going to have a little bit more time because it's a scout rifle, you got some range on folks, then you end up getting the increased aim assist, fall off distance, increased precision multiplier. So you get the damage, plus you get the increased AA fall off distance to get you some more headshots, and then you get that TTK, right? So
it's good.
Yeah,
it's
box breathing would be the one off the top of my head, and then depending on how you would the secondary for me, because I'm not a Cascade Point enthusiast like yourself.
Have you tried it? I'm just curious. Have you tried it?
I'm actually waiting to what's the phrase that I want to use here? I just thought of one that would probably not be the best. I'm actually waiting until I get that solar auto rifle that has Cascade Point, so I can run double Cascade Point.
Yeah,
that's what I'm waiting for. Hopefully to drop. Once I get that, I've got a few things in the top spot between the Taraxipos, and there's something else. I think I might have like an auto rifle as well, but I've got a couple weapons with Cascade Point, but they're all on the kinetic weapon side.
Right.
And I'm just waiting for that one weapon, because I think it's only one that has Cascade Point in the energy spot. And it's a world drop, and so I just need it to drop with Cascade Point, and then yes, you will see me double primary in the Crucible.
That makes
Cascade
sense.
Point, but I'm just waiting for that right there.
With your playstyle, that makes sense. I just really love it, and I feel like once you start using it, you'll be like, oh, I see White Lego. White Lego feels the way that he feels. Okay, let's spec this thing out real quick, and if there's any perks that you that we didn't talk about that you want to go over, we can go over them with your roll.
Okay.
My roll real quick. The stats are so bad, I feel like I have to go with small bore. Tony was laughing at me. He was in there watching me type my notes, and he was like, laugh out loud, look at you, like as I'm just bashing this thing, because the stats really they're bad. I feel like I need as much as possible. So I'm going small bore just to get as many stats as I can. Ricochet rounds again, that adds range and stability. And then I'm getting Cascade Point, and I'm mixing it with Discord. I know the timers aren't perfect, but it's such a good perk. And here's the main thing with Cascade Point that I noticed with the Track Scout, is the Guardian Games one, is that the accuracy determined a lot. and it's why I loved my moving target roll over my Zen moment roll, is because it gave me that boost to not just my ADS speed, but also the aim assist. And so if I'm going to increase my accuracy with Discord when I swap to Cascade Point, I am all about that. And then on top of that, I'm going to add in some stability masterwork and a counterbalance mod, because that 59 recoil direction is not looking pretty.
Agreed.
But with counterbalance, it bumps it up to 74.
Counterbalance,
So I think I'm going to do it. I didn't like it on tracks, but my first impression using Randy's is it felt so much more unwieldy than Taraxipos did, and it's got me to where I even have a Cascade Point roll on it, but I'm still using my Taraxipos roll because it just feels so much better. It's so much more reliable, and I think it has to do with the stats, and so I really got to wait for the perfect roll, and I'm hoping that Discord combined with the other stuff I've laid out here will really do it for me. So that's how I'm specking mine.
Okay. Yeah, and we're going to talk about this with positive outlook. I think that's next, I believe. Like, I completely agree with you. If you're going to, go for a perk like Cascade Point, if you're going to go for a perk like even Kill Clip is a really good example, a really easy example as well. That perk in the third column, because those come in the fourth column, right? That perk in the third column, you should definitely consider a perk in the third column that supports the operation, the impact of that fourth column perk that you have. So you said Cascade Point. Okay, I'm going to end up picking Discord because I want to support the Cascade Point basically with the accuracy boost, right? With Kill Clip, a really good example would be Tunnel Vision. Right, you reload and you get both tunnel vision and you get kill clip if you have one in the third column, one in the fourth column, and that tunnel vision, which increases aim assist amongst, it might do maybe one other thing I can't remember actually. I'll just tell you because I have it sitting right here. Tunnel vision, reloading after defeating a target greatly increases target acquisition and aim down sight speed for a short duration. So it lasts for 5 seconds. Kill clip also lasts for 5 seconds. So it's just really nice synergy between those two, and tunnel vision, the fact that you just get a fatter hitbox essentially benefits, the effectiveness of getting that impact out of kill clip right afterwards. And we're going to talk about that on positive outlook as well, because there's some synergy there that we wanted to mention. But yeah, on my roll, I think I selected, this is a good distinction. We should probably just start saying this at the beginning of the weapons segment. Lego's roles will be influenced. There'll be some crossover, of course, between our two roles, but will be influenced by the fact that he's on controller and I'm on M&K, and some of the nuances and the differences between those different input methods for different archetypes and subfamilies of weapons as well. So just keep that in mind, and that, likely influenced, how I built mine, or it definitely influenced how I built mine versus how he built his. Mine, arrowhead break, ricochet rounds, Zen moment, just because Zen moment, you get 2 stacks, those 2 stacks for both, which is the maximum stacks you can get for Zen moment per shot, per hit. 2 stacks that you get for hand cannons and scouts. So because I know it benefits hand cannons and scouts more than any other archetype of weapon, it's almost always kind of my first go-to whenever, I'm looking at Zen moment being potentially on that weapon, on that archetype. Then from there, box breathing or kill clip, I could see a benefit to both of those, but I'd probably gravitate more towards box breathing for the reasons that we stated above. Airhead and counterbalance mod yields 100 recoil direction, and I just like that. I think because stability doesn't matter on some of these weapons as much on M&K, recoil direction still matters. And if I end up building into recoil direction oftentimes, especially with spitters like this, this is a rapid fire frame, right? But auto rifles, even pulse rifles and things like that, a lot of times I feel like recoil direction matters a lot more than building into as much stability as maybe I would build if I was on controllers. So I really like that 100 recoil direction on this as well, because it's a fast firing scout, the fastest subfamily of firing scout. And so it's generally it's again a 0.93 TTK without a damage perk, and therefore I'd probably, because that's a 0.93 second TTK versus what me and Lego always kind of fall back on as far as the TTK, 140 RPM hand cannons are at base kind of a 0.87 just for the subfamily itself, a 0.87 TTK. So anytime I see something longer than that, I'm just like, I probably want a damage perk on this.
Yeah.
You know?
Cascade point, baby!
Cascade, oh God. And so, therefore, I'd probably, you guys know me, I love handling. Handling is your TTK. But since I'm farther off, obviously, I don't need to necessarily slide into people with this scout rifle. I'd probably skip on the perpetual motion or snapshot. If it had a lower TTK at base, then I'd consider that more because I'd just be gunning. And, those are more so consistency perks more than anything else. But on this one, I'd probably try to get that TTK down with a damage perk. And box breathing, the fact that it can be active every single engagement that you're in just sounds like it benefits me. I actually didn't write down a masterwork for this one. This has what I'm seeing with ricochet rounds, which we have, both of us have on it, correct? Yeah. That gives you stability at 49. I'd probably be okay with that, especially if I had that Zen moment there. I'd probably be okay with just 49, and I might build into a little bit more range. With just ricochet rounds, your range comes up to 68.41 meters, which, I mean, it's fantastic. The zoom helps out with that. You put a range masterwork on it, it takes it up to 71.51. Actually, now that I say that, I'm not going to do that. I'll probably build into,
it's going pretty far.
Yeah, I'd probably build into stability. We joked about this as well, the fact that Lego will come up with a roll, and then I'll look at his, and I'll be coming up with mine, and then I just end up coming up with almost the same roll as him, just usually damage or different perks at the very end. So I'd probably go with the stability as well, either that or I'd go with a handling masterwork, one of the two, just depending on how it felt with that 100 recoil direction. So yeah, but I think that this is actually kind of a spicy scout
very
rifle.
Spicy, yeah.
I think that there's some definite things you can do with it. One last thing that I'll mention is for kill clip. I think it's definitely very viable to rock Rapid Hit on this instead of Zen Moment, depending on how you feel with it, simply because Rapid Hit ends up giving you both stability and reload speed, and that reload would build into a kill clip roll well. If you're using box breathing, I'd probably go with Zen Moment, though. So
yeah, I do like that you brought up Zen Moment and how well it works on scouts because, the scout takes so many bullets to kill. It's a rapid fire scout, and with it maxing out in 3 bullets, that's really good. If you're taking 5 bullets to kill someone at base and you are at max stacks of Zen Moment within 3 bullets, that's really good. I feel like it's more beneficial and faster, like time to kill. Like this is a 260 RPM scout at base, so you're creating those stacks faster than you would on a different scout, like we just talked about on the Taraxacos.
That's really true.
So very, very cool that you pointed that out. I kind of passed over that one a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great way to flush that out for sure.
Okay, next up, positive outlook. I am so excited for this precision frame void auto rifle. I haven't been that excited about precision frame auto rifles before, but I have been getting killed by them a lot lately. I don't know what it is this season, but people have it out for me with their Firefright in particular. People are all about their crafted Firefright, and every time I'm killed by them, I'm like, what was that train that just hit me? And it's always a Firefright. So yeah, been facing some of those lately, and so I'm excited that this is a Vanguard precision frame void auto rifle, that 450 RPM, 0.8 second TTK against 10 Resil. Not bad at all. 7 bullets. As Tony pointed out, this one, you can hit one of those bullets as a body shot. So it's like really forgiving and competitive TTK wise. I just am really impressed, and it's a precision frame. And for those who don't remember, precision frames weapons recoil pattern is more predictively vertical. That got nerfed recently on fusion rifles for precision frame. Thank you, Zur Ingredient, for that one. But on every other weapon, it should work about the same. And so Kit Kutcha, who used to be the host of this show, would always say, when I was around, he would say, yeah, precision frame, you don't need any recoil adjustments. You just don't, like, precision frame's going to take care of it. He was so sure that it made your recoil direction perfect that he was like, don't even like mess with anything else if you got a precision frame. So that's how powerful it was, or is. They haven't really changed anything with it. So yeah, precision frames are strong. Precision frame autos are really strong. And now this is an energy weapon. It's void and comes with cascade points. So I'm very excited But it's not all roses with this one. It does have some of the highest range stats other than Braytech Werewolf. It has standard stability at 42, pretty standard for precisions, but here's the bummer for me. 26 aim assist is in the dumpster with this thing. What is going on?
This is not just low for the, relatively low for the subfamily. It's below low.
Yeah, so normally precision frame autos most of them are around the 40s, like 45, that kind of range. There's like 2 of them in the 30s, but 26, this thing just got left behind, honestly.
My question is, and I didn't get to ask this because I guess I just thought of it. Are there any sunset, because this is a year 1 weapon that was brought forward. Are there any other year 1 auto rifles in this subfamily that also have like a really outlandishly low stat? And this definitely goes back to what we talked about in the pre-show. The fact that could it have been that this weapon somehow got left behind and that the aim assist, like if they were to look at it, they'd be like, we probably need to bump this up. Maybe it's because the precision frame like makes it super. I don't know.
I don't know either. I really don't. And I'm hesitant to say because I don't. It'd be a really hard thing to search for in the past. But just compared to what we have now, and thinking back too, I never felt like Positive Outlook was the one that everybody talked about for this category. It was just kind of there. So yeah, I don't know. This one feels weird to me bringing back. But all that said, there's some banger perks here. Some perks that I have been really excited for. As I said, Cascade Point for me personally, the reason this is a big deal is 1, auto rifles get that better scaler, so it changes this 450 auto rifle to 750, which is very good. Gives it a 0.48 second
Mr.
TTK.
Cascade Point.
Yeah, Mr. Cascade Point with Surge times 3, it gets a 0.4 second TTK up to 8 Resil. And just a reminder, that's not stacking like 3 orbs. This is 1 orb that you pick up from your kill, which activates Cascade Point. You just have to be running 3 Surge mods on your legs, and you get a 0.4 second TTK up to 8 Resil. That is crazy strong, crazy strong. And I'm excited about it for that, but I'm also excited about it because this is only the second weapon to get Cascade Point that is a primary in the energy slot. The other one from last season, the Konorok, was a 600 RPM. So different weapon, auto weapon altogether, but it was a world drop that was impossible to get. Literally how do you even get it? So Positive Outlook is a straightforward shot to get this weapon from the Vanguard. So I will be absolutely upgrading my Vanguard rep. But Tony here was the one to point out to me that Kill Clip is actually super valuable on this weapon. So I'm going to let you take that one away because I was unfamiliar with Kill Clip being popular on this.
Yeah, 2 things. First of all, man, this just blew my mind, the fact that, okay, this is the second weapon that gets that Cascade Point. Yep. So I'll probably be trying to get this as well so that I can make that double Cascade Point build that I was talking about to finally dig into Cascade Point and see how I feel about it. So that's 1. 2 is that for folks that were around year 1 Destiny 2, Positive Outlook dropped with Kill Clip, and it was, at the very least on PC, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. It was definitely a meta weapon, a meta choice. So to see it come back with Kill Clip is just really nice because it was much beloved in year 1. With Kill Clip on this weapon, you get 0.53 seconds up to 7 resilience. And then it's actually up to 10 resilience if you have only just one. You just need 1 surge mod. You just need 1 surge mod. That's so good. It's, you had written as well that Golden Tricorn times 1, only a 0.67 seconds for most resiliences. Even with surges, it doesn't change. So you don't have to worry about surges with that. Times 2 Golden Tricorn with surge times 3, it's still only, we say only, but still, it's a 0.4 seconds up to 8 resilience. And he just has in all caps, by the way, just use Cascade Point, people, LOL.
So here's my thing with this is Golden Tricorn times 2 is a pain to get going. Yeah. Because you have to get a kill, and then within 7 seconds you have to get an ability kill, and then you have 10 seconds of Golden Tricorn times 2. But it's like a lot to stack for something that you could get the TTK of if you just use Cascade Point. Like, you don't need to do the 2 kills and get it within a certain amount of time. You literally just get a shotgun or fusion kill, and you swap to this with Cascade Point, 0.4 second TTK. This same as Golden Tricorn times 2. This is one of the first instances, I think, ever of us reviewing something where I look at kill clip and Golden Tricorn, and I'm like, I'll take kill clip. Because normally Golden Tricorn is like the better Rampage, but this time it's not enough to make it that much of a difference, and kill clip is much more appealing.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. And so for everybody's information as well, the Braytech Werewolf or Tiger Spite, both also, their 450 RPM auto rifles also get kill clip. So just something to kind of keep in mind for folks that enjoy kill clip on this particular subfamily of auto rifle.
Particularly if you're looking for something with more aim assist, because it ain't here.
Oh, True. Now, one thing to note about Braytech Werewolf for when, what is it? Festival of the Lost, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Halloween?
Yeah,
The Halloween Festival? Yeah, the seasonal event, or the Halloween event comes back around. Is that on Braytech Werewolf, you can actually get also dynamics. We'll talk about it here in a second when we go over our roles, but the only downside, I guess, the quote-unquote downside, is that Tiger Spite doesn't get the dynamic sway, which we love. We love on this podcast. Dynamic sway reduction, the perk, just does so much for you, especially on weapons that are spitters, right? It's a high RPM, relatively high RPM weapon, and Tiger Spite doesn't get that perk, but it does get kill clip. It does get outlaw kill clip, I believe. Still, I have one of those, and Tiger Spite feels really good. But just kind of a note for folks: Braytech Werewolf, definitely one of the 2 of this RPM of this subfamily that can get dynamic sway reduction and kill clip, which is a really nice combination to have.
Yeah, and for clarification,
and we're going to talk about dynamic sway here in a second.
Yeah, and with dynamic sway, I was going to say, this gun takes 7 bullets with its optimal TTK against 10 resil. So the way dynamic sway works is every bullet, it adds another minus 5% to accuracy cone size and minus 10% to accuracy cone growth. Those are huge numbers. Like, if you think about how much everybody loves, what is the perk on the hand cannon that we've been talking about?
The Storm?
No, Eye of the Storm is a great perk as well, but the one where you have to stay a certain distance away for it to be active.
Oh, keep away. Keep away.
Yeah, keep away. Mm-hmm. It's like
15 meters.
But that perk is only like a 1.25% minus accuracy cone size. So the difference in the two is it just goes to show. So yeah, it's not 1.25. It's minus 5% accuracy cone size. So
okay.
That's minus 5. This is giving you another stack of keep away for every bullet you hit. That's what this is doing.
That's nuts.
That's how good this perk is, and I'm really glad I made that clarification, because I think even for me it's kind of blowing my mind right now that it's an extra stack of keep away. Obviously not the range and everything, but just in terms of accuracy for every bullet, and it's going to stack up to 7 times because you need 7 kills here. So you're not going to get to the 100% because that's how high it goes. Dynamic sway goes up to minus 50% accuracy cone size and minus 100% accuracy cone growth. So you hit 7 of those bullets, and by that time you're at minus 35% accuracy cone size.
Oh, that's massive. That's massive.
That's huge by the time you're done with the mag. So dynamic sway is really good on this archetype in particular. Other perks that I see here, it's got that invisible hand perk you were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. We both talked about tap the trigger for a little while on here, because regardless of how you use it, if you're using it for kill clip and you got a bunch of damage and you want to lay it in real fast, tap the trigger could be great for you. Or if you're like me and you're going for Cascade Point and you swap to this weapon and just tap the trigger for a second, it's going to be active the entire time you need to get that kill, because it says immediately upon firing 0.6 seconds it gives you 40 stability, minus 50% recoil, and minus 10% accuracy cone size. I'm actually really tempted to want that on this thing, because that's really good. Now that I read it, I'm like, that's a lot of stability. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, definitely. And keep in mind, you mentioned the invisible hand perk, and everybody remembers where I was talking about it a little bit earlier, about it especially being a little bit more forgiving and maybe catering a little bit towards folks with a little bit less experience in the game and PvP. They specifically put it on an auto rifle. Yeah. Right? On the most arguably the most forgiving auto rifle as well. And keep in mind, for folks that listened, it was way back when, and I can't remember on what particular outlet, that either Chris Proctor, the weapons lead, or Merck mentioned that they never want auto rifles to be like super uber competitive. But they did notice that they were very popular choices for kind of the average to low experience player. And so they ended up putting Invisible Hand on the most forgiving subfamily and on a weapon that you're more likely to see in those lobbies, those experience brackets. So I thought that was really intentional and thoughtful on their part. So very cool.
Man, I'm really torn right now on my roll. After looking at this tap the trigger, I'm like, oh man, tap the trigger, like activating immediately. I don't have to worry about game delay. It's just active, because that's my problem with a lot of Cascade Point stuff. With Zen Moment, I didn't feel like it activated fast enough because you had to do something for it to activate. Attack the trigger is just going to like activate when you pull the trigger. So
exactly.
I'm really torn on that. It also had, this auto also has Zen Moment, Surplus, Tunnel Vision, Perpetual Motion, tons of great perks here. In the second column, it's got Repulsor Brace and Destabilizing Rounds, Elemental Capacitor. There's just banger perks here. We already talked about Golden Tricorn. And then, for PvE, Adapted Munitions. This is a Vanguard weapon after all. Eye of the Storm, if you really want to get that accuracy cone size down. If you just wanted this to be just a standard auto rifle without any damage stuff, going Dynamic Sway Eye of the Storm could be like a crazy
I thought about that. Yeah, between that or like a Dynamic Sway. It's not on this particular weapon, but a Dynamic Sway and like Under Pressure. Same sort of like concept. Obviously different activators, but yeah. If you just wanted to absolutely double down on accuracy and just making the gun just feel really good to hit those shots,
I'm definitely gonna, if I get that roll, I'm definitely gonna save it and try it out. Because like we said, these are RNG rolls. You might get this Dynamic Sway Eye of the Storm. I would try that out if you grab that roll for sure.
Well, and keep in mind, right? The base is what you said. It was 0.8 at base, right? With 7 shots, which is 6 and 1, right? Six head, one body. So it's a not like a uber competitive TTK, but it's 0.7 shy of or less than a 140 hand cannon. So all I'm trying to say is this, with how it was with Randy's, it's the opposite with this one for me. Like I would be invested in maybe looking at consistency perks only, whereas with Randy's at a 0.93 second TTK, I'd be probably looking, or I know I'd be looking for something to reduce that, some damage perks to reduce that. So you certainly could go consistency perks on this one and benefit in a lot of engagements.
Not only that, but we talk about that, just that base tiny kill, that 0.8. If you add, because there's that leniency, that means you can probably push it with just a little bit of damage. If you pick up an orb and you're running that Dynamic Sway Eye of the Storm roll, where you're just not focusing on damage, but you run a weapon surge times 3, like 3 of those mods, you're at that 0.67 second time to kill up to 8 Resil.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah,
it's a really, really good point. I was literally about to type that in to see what the surges would do to benefit you. So the surges would give you the damage, that you don't have with a damage perk on the end. But then, the Eye of the Storm and the Dynamic Sway would give you uber consistency, right? Uber consistency. Yeah. So you get the best of both worlds with those surge mods. That's a really good point. Yep.
Man, okay, well, I'm still torn on the whole tap the trigger thing, but I'm going to go ahead and say my roll anyway. So because I do have something particular I'm going to do. If it doesn't work, I'll look for the tap the trigger roll.
Yeah, and this is a really good point to make again for this particular weapon. Remember, Lego is on controller, I'm on M&K. It's going to influence these rolls in particular more than anything else that we discussed so far. So go ahead.
Oh, shoot. I'm already changing my roll again because I'm like, this is a precision.
You know what? We go skip him.
Okay, skip me. You go.
I'm going to go first. So I'm on M&K. I even wrote that in the notes. And you'll see the distinction here in a second. I would actually choose full bore for this one. I would actually choose full bore, ricochet rounds, range masterwork. That takes it out to 32.75 meters at ADS. I was really thinking about, like, the biggest reason for this is I was looking at the range stat, the range stat and how much range you actually get out of it compared to, for example, again, like a baseline 140 RPM hand cannon. And just at base with 64 range on the stat, you're getting 28.2 meters. With the 140 hand cannon, most people are outfitting, especially with rangefinder on it. I mean, you're reaching out to 32, 33, 34. I'm not trying to be less effective at those ranges than a 140 hand cannon, which is a pretty prevalent weapon still. But even so, I mean, we're talking about immortals with rangefinders. We're talking about the new dungeon SMG, 750 RPM SMG with rangefinder, and they're reaching those distances. I just want to make sure that I can, at the very least, compete in those ranges, not be at a detriment because I'm under 30 meters at ADS. So that's why I ended up giving it that full bore. I ended up giving it the ricochet rounds and the range masterwork that at least gets me to almost 33 meters. And then I really like, so I should say the end perk first, kill clip. So kill clip, I'm just that guy that played year one, loved positive outlook with kill clip. That's what I'd roll with. We discussed it above, of course. And then everything else would support the kill clip. Right. That's what everything else does. Tap the trigger. Because kill clip is on that timer of 5 seconds, right? As soon as I reload, I have a fresh magazine. I'm interested not in the end of the magazine or even the middle of the magazine, right? I'm interested in the first bullets that are shot out, which to get that kill clip. Because I just want to double check something. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, it doesn't apply to this one. But my point again is I want to make sure those first bullets in that first 5 seconds of me firing that weapon, right? Tap the trigger, I get that benefit. And then with Omalon Fluid Dynamics engaged as well, which gives you stability at the top half of the magazine. I literally have 100 stability at the beginning of the magazine because of tap the trigger and Omalon Fluid Dynamics. So that's the way that I outfitted it. Kill clip gives, again, a 0.53 second TTK at 7 resilience and below with 5 heads, times one surge. Times one surge takes that up to all resiliences, just an FYI. Otherwise, it's a 0.67 second TTK with 4 heads and 2 bodies. So, one is a forgiveness thing, forgiveness of not hitting all of those heads, those 5 heads. You'd have to instead hit 4 heads and 2 bodies to get it to the 0.67 TTK. But if you hit all 5 heads, and on top of that, you have at least 1 surge, you can eliminate your target, all resiliences at 0.53 seconds TTK. And so that's the reason why I built it that way, is to just make that as easy as possible for me to get that those 5 heads. Yeah,
that's good stuff. Okay, I got it, Tony.
I'm listening, baby.
Here's where I'm going with it. It took me a second because I had to reevaluate it being a precision frame. Recoil direction's out the window. I don't need it. And then I thought a lot about what you said about the range being everything you just said, the range not being good enough. So I am going to spec into that a lot. And one more thing that we haven't talked about is Omalon Fluid Dynamics. That's giving you that 20 stability at the top half of the mag is so good. So all that into effect, I'm going small bore, ricochet rounds, a range masterwork. And then with Omalon Fluid Dynamics, that already puts me at 86 range and 79 stability out of the gate.
Nice.
Which is pretty nice. And then on top of that, I'm running Cascade Point. You know it. I'm only going to run one weapon surge mod because I like saving, if I'm running an adaptive fusion, at least 2 surge mods to help with that. With the bolts to kill. So that puts me at a 0.4 second time to kill up to 6 resil. I feel like that's pretty good. I could push it higher, but up to 6 resil, that feels pretty good. And then for the third column perk here, this is where I was torn between tap, but I feel like Omalon Fluid Dynamics is going to help me out a lot, and what I really want is steady hands, because I'm activating getting a kill, swapping to this one. I may not have steady hands active yet, but if I melt someone Cascade Point, that gives me 100 handling on every weapon to swap back to whatever else I'm using. If I'm running a double Cascade Point build or something with Discord or Harmony, this allows me to quickly swap to that and keep the momentum going, get that actions per minute up. So that's what I'm about with this one.
Yeah, and that's a great point. It's one of those things that you probably have to feel out, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm running tap the trigger. This feels amazing. Okay, I get a roll that doesn't have tap, even if it doesn't have kill clip on it, right? You just feel it out. Basically, a similar stability stat and all this other stuff. But okay, this feels really manageable to just hit shots without tap the trigger on it. Exactly. Okay, steady hands might benefit me more. Now, what you didn't mention and what I forgot to mention as well is I completely agree on the mod that you run on it, which is Target Adjuster.
Yes,
simply because of the aim assist being so dumpster low on this particular weapon that and nothing else really standing out. It's a precision frame, just like you said, so there's no real need, I would argue as well, for counterbalance, which would be the first thing that I would think about. And I think I initially wrote it before you ended up saying that. So I agree on Target Adjuster. And but this is, if people aren't talking about this weapon, they should be because this thing looks like it would be a lot of fun in sixes, a lot of fun, very consistent, and you could build into it a little bit to get some really nice TTKs to melt some folks before they can recognize what just happened to them.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, we're also going to talk about the Gambit weapon this season, Laser Painter. It's the linear fusion rifle. We won't spend much time on this one. It's a heavy weapon, but 533 charge time. It's one of those, just one shot. It's not the burst shot. Stats wise, there's nothing really great here. It's actually range is some of the worst. Aim assist is like fine at 63. I think the perks are really what's gonna make it, if anything does. I actually played around a lot with some damage perks on the old Trials linear fusion because I wanted to get those one body shots going. I tried using Harmony on that one for a while. But really, I think Golden Tricorn is the standout here. I don't think we've ever had Golden Tricorn on a linear fusion, and I'm kind of bummed that linear fusions have been nerfed for PvE because Golden Tricorn's such a good damage perk. Getting that 50% up for solo content would be really strong. But in the Crucible, you can one-shot body shot up to 5 Resil with just Golden Tricorn ×1. And if you made an orb on that first kill and you run Surge ×3, you can one body shot all Resil for 7 seconds. So Golden Tricorn, pretty good on a linear fusion because you just use it as normal. You just get a kill. You don't do anything fancy. So sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, you're right. I don't even know why I chose what I chose for mine, but we'll get to that.
And then Harmony one shot body shot up to 9 Resil. That's really great too. But let's face it, you pick up heavy ammo, you're going to be using the heavy ammo probably.
Agreed. So. Especially on a linear fusion, you get 5. In the magazine. You're probably just going to have that out.
Yeah. And then as far as random other perks go, we do have moving target. It's one of my favorite things here if I'm just going for that Golden Tricorn roll. And then it also has hipfire grip in the fourth column, I think. And it's just like, why couldn't that be in third column to do something more interesting? Like there's nothing to pair it with here because it's in the fourth column. And it was kind of a bummer because that would have been a really cool potentially annoying fusion to play against, but someone picks up heavy and they're just using it from the hip like you used to use Arbalist or something. Like, I don't know, be kind of crazy. You'd have to be really intentional about it, but yeah, that's about it. It also has fragile focus, which got recently buffed, so that plus 20 range before your shields are broken, pretty good. So interesting options there. Anything stick out to you, Tony?
Yeah, and I'll double down on fragile focus as well. Like on linear fusions, I've definitely noticed that they benefit from that additional range. And we're talking about a base range of 34. So if we're trying to hit those headshots, which is generally what we're trying to do with those 5 shots from a linear fusion, that's probably the biggest deterrent between that and the increased flinch that they have now. That actual range, is going to help out. So fragile focus, certainly don't want to dismiss that, right?
For sure.
Especially if, we come down to my role, which I could probably just get into my role and then we'll get into yours. If you're going for something like Focus Fury, which is based on, hitting heads, and even more important in this one because Focus Fury, if I had to guess, you probably only had to hit 2 of the 5 in the magazine for Focus Fury to activate. If I had to guess, I'm pretty confident about that. About 70% confident. So don't slay me. But I thought that was a really just interesting to have. There was Focus Fury. So my role would be Hammer Forge, Projection Fuse, a range mass work. Just get that range up, but no deterrent. I wouldn't put full bore on it. I don't think that's necessary. And then moving target, I think is so good on this. So good on this. I completely agree. Especially if you're trying to do what I do here with some, a Tony roll. I wouldn't, I'd probably pick the Golden Tricorn, which is Lego's roll here in a second. But Focus Fury, I thought was really interesting. Hatchling for the memes, of course. Y'all know I love Hatchling, but Focus Fury, and then a target adjuster on the mod. So, everything, just like I was talking about before, if I'm going to run Focus Fury or even a Hatchling, which I think requires headshot, is that correct? On precision kill or upon scoring kills within seconds of each with a weapon that cannot deal precision damage. Okay, yeah. So precision kills, which is important. That's Hatchling. So everything is going to try to support a precision hit, right? And so that's the moving target. That's fragile focus to a degree, just extending that range out. But that's why I chose moving target. But moving target just seems like a great play here since it's a precision weapon to begin with. Lego kind of alluded to it. But anytime that we're looking at a linear fusion as heavy, like I'm just thinking about, can I get that body shot hit to make it even more forgiving, especially because you get so much flinch these days from these. So you want to try. I mean, I'm just not trying to hit ahead if I don't. I'm just trying to get the shot off, maybe even hip fire it, right, and get the shot off, and for it to one-shot body eventually. And so that's why, the Golden Tricorn is there. That's why the Focus Fury is there. And so everything is kind of, whenever we go over one of these linear fusions, everything is kind of supporting that concept to make the ease of use on these better, because they really took a hit with the flinch update.
Yeah, for sure. My role is basically what you said. I'm going, we're almost the exact same role here. The only difference is I'm going Golden Tricorn, which you said you would probably go for anyway. So Hammer Forge Projection, Moving Target, Golden Tricorn, Range Masterwork, and gotta slap a targeting adjuster mod on there. And what's great about this with Golden Tricorn is it's the only one with Golden Tricorn. So if you're going for it for PvP, it'll be great for PvE too, and you don't have to have two different versions or anything like that.
That's a really good point.
You can use it for everything, which is nice for me because our vaults are full right now. Anytime I can get something that I can use for both, I'm like, yes, keep it on my character. I'll use that. So definitely worth checking out. Also should mention that it is a strand linear fusion. I didn't say that up front, but given Hatchling, kind of a given. But strand, that's a whole new world for PvE stuff. I'm sure there's going to be tons of different ways you can stack that in PvE, but just kind of worth mentioning there.
Yeah, and I'll mention it too. We're a PvP podcast, but I will say that Ensemble is so good for getting that boss damage in PvE.
Oh, see, I was thinking Clown Cartridge. I'm a huge Clown Cartridge fan.
Of course. Yeah, you definitely got some serious options, I would say, in PvE. You've got Ensemble, you've got Clown Cartridge, you've got No Distractions. These things still take a decent amount of flinch, I think, in PvE as well. Mm-hmm. So maybe that might be helpful or beneficial to some folks. So just, Dang,
I kind of want one, but I don't. I don't want to go back into gambit. It's fun. I just don't have the time for that. But I like the way this thing looks and sounds on paper. So it's not like one of those crazy things, but one of those things that I would use this for different kinds of activities. That would kind of be nice.
It's interesting. It's an interesting pick.
Okay, let's move on to these Iron Banner weapons. We got two of them, really only just one. One of them is a heavy weapon, but Pressurized Precision. I talked about this a lot the past few days. I was making a video on it that just went up on the YouTube, but I have nailed down even more what I want, so I can talk about it a little more in depth and in more precision here. I've been pressured, and so I'm going to be precise with it. So it's a 660 charge time adaptive strand fusion rifle, our first strand fusion rifle in the kinetic slot. 5 bolts up to 6 resil, 7 resil, and up you need 6 bolts. This is adaptives are the most inconsistent fusion rifles now. Every other archetype pretty much same amount of bolts to kill. High impact fusion rifles will only 3 bolt up to 9 resil, and then you need 4 past that. But Yeah, so basically this one's super inconsistent because the split down is in the middle at 6-7 Resil. Now you can fix that with high impact reserves, which is available on this fusion. It was not available on the last crafted adaptive, so really big deal to see here. And honestly, the stats look really good. Compare it side by side with some of the best out there. Burden of Guilt, Tachyon Force. The stats are pretty good. Range at 40 is some of the highest. 1 point away from Burden of Guilt's 41. Stability is 42. Just 1 point away from Trinary Systems, 43 stat. The one downside of this whole thing is aim assist is the weakest at 43. That's like 10 below what the big dogs are at. So 43 is as bad as Dreambreaker and Royal Executioner. If you have used those guns and recognize how hard they are to connect your target to, you will understand what I'm saying. Phaeton, you don't count. I know you love Dreambreaker. Don't bring that in here. It's not I know there are some good perks on the gun, but just at base, it's not a good gun. Royal Executioner, y'all all know that's hard to use at base as well. So that's what you can expect from this. You have to get the right rolls. So let's talk about the perks. First off, the intrinsic perk, I don't want to skip over it, so I'm going to mention it right away. Skulking Wolf gets you off radar for 10 seconds when you get a kill while you're under 63 HP. That's a very good perk. Staying off radar for 10 seconds just passively, and whether you don't have to be invis or anything, you're just off radar. That's amazing. Really good perk. Really good perk.
Underrated. Yeah, I would say.
Underrated too, because it's on a charge rifle. You know, a fusion rifle, you have to charge it. You're probably getting shot at. Maybe you got weak, and then you do that. And then on top of that, we've got Eye of the Storm here at the bottom. And so maybe you got weak and Eye of the Storm procs, and you get that up to 40%, minus 40% accuracy cone size and minus 17% accuracy cone growth. And then on top of that, you get the kill. Then you get Skulking Wolf and you're off radar for 10 seconds. Like, there's a lot of synergy to be had here in this fusion rifle. So pretty cool stuff. I do want to mention some perks that I'm not as big of a fan of, but maybe other people will be. Encore, which usually is a great perk, needs precision kills to get up to the 2 stack, so you only get 1 stack of Encore if you get a kill here. It adds range, which is rare, but you know, it's not that much accuracy and you have to get a kill, and there's a lot better get kill perks for fusion rifles. And then Firmly Planted it's been nerfed so hard that it's just not, for fusion rifles specifically. Firmly Planted on other stuff is great. Firmly Planted on fusion rifles is not great. Under Pressure has not been nerfed at all, and that's what's missing here. And so with great stats, other than the aim assist, the real question is, can you make this fusion rifle work without Under Pressure? That's the main takeaway here, because we've also got Rangefinder, Eye of the Storm, High Impact Reserves in that 4th column. And then we've also got the new perk, Discord, which has all those things I listed. The accuracy, you know, Under Pressure, it's like Snapshot. It's like free ammo when you get a kill during that time. And it works in Crucible. So some crazy stuff here. I think that's about it. It's also got Moving Target. Last thing I'll mention, because Moving Target can make up for the aim assist that it lacks, and that is kind of what my whole video revolved around was, hey, like, yes, it may not connect it well as base, but none of the other fusion rifles I mentioned have Moving Target. You add Moving Target on, all of a sudden you're at 53 aim assist and you're competing, and so you've got better stats than any other adaptive fusion out there, and you've still got your whole last column to work with. High Impact Reserves, Rangefinder, Eye of the Storm, while beating every other fusion stat-wise. So the trick is, like, can RNG of Iron Banner bless you with a roll that has that? That's the question.
It's focusable, right?
It is, but you never get more than one column.
Just you know, silver lining.
It's silver lining. It is a silver lining, and it's not as expensive as it used to be. These are all great things. The bummer is that you never roll double perks like you did during Guardian games. It's just one perk every time, and that is, RNG for that can be rough.
Agreed. Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna 2 things here. I said Moving Target is a highlight. I also want to say Discord is a huge highlight. I think it's going to be very slept on. Every review I've listened to just talks about its PvE implications with the ammo regeneration or niche PvP stuff, but they don't talk about the accuracy. And I think that the accuracy from it could be really, really good, and stacked on top of all the other stuff like the ammo regeneration, I think it may become like a thing that I make a whole build out of and stick to in multiple activities. So it's hard to say that it would be my primary role because I don't know enough about it yet and I haven't had a good role of it, but I can say for sure it's on my radar. If I get a Discord role at all, no matter what the other perks are, I'm going to be paying attention to it.
Gotcha. And just to review for a second, you said that Discord, there's no stacks to it. It's just active or it's not active. And when it's active, it's like maximum under pressure. It's like the last bullet on under pressure, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that that's not scientific, because this is the reason why it's funky, is because I tested this on a fusion rifle, and fusion rifles, the way that they work with things at the end of a magazine, like high impact reserves, for instance, it goes up in damage the further down the magazine you are, just like under pressure. It like does more effect the further down. It affects the individual bolts. Like the first bolt out of your last burst will do less damage than the last bolt. That's how dumb fusion rifles are with their math. So
interesting.
So technically, like under pressure might do more on the last bullet on a different weapon, but on a fusion rifle, on this one, it feels just as good as under pressure it is. That's kind of my point.
Gotcha. Okay, that's the takeaway. Gotcha.
So yeah, so use it just like Harmony. You get a kill with another weapon, you swap to this one, you get free ammo regeneration within that 7 seconds. If you get the kill, you got under pressure, you got snapshot, basically all for free. And then on top of that, you can run rangefinder, which I'll go into that for a second. I talked about high impact reserves, Eye of the Storm. Rangefinder is kind of the last thing here. If y'all don't remember, we've talked about it a few times, but zoom on fusions is weird. When you add in rangefinder, because of the weirdness, it gives it zoom as if you were getting zoom on a different weapon. Zoom on fusions isn't as good as zoom on other weapons. Zoom usually gives you more damage fall off, more recoil control, further aim assist fall off distance, and more accuracy, but it gives like a minuscule amount on a fusion rifle versus zoom on something else. However, rangefinder breaks that and says, no, I'm going to give it to you as if you're a normal gun. So a rangefinder boost of zoom is way better than just having normal zoom. For context, like of how much better it is, a 21 zoom fusion rifle, the fall off distance isn't even as good as a rangefinder fusion with only 15 zoom. So
what?
Yeah.
I knew rangefinder was doing something on these. I knew that Epicurean was mapping.
Yep, sure. And I tested this too. I didn't test it all the way fully to the 21 zoom. Now I can, now that I have a rangefinder adaptive. I didn't have one before, but I tested it with some 17 zoom, 15 zoom stuff, and to watch rangefinder go past the 17 zoom fusions, I was like, oh man, this thing is cranked. I knew it was good, and then I kind of went off the backs of other people who did research to find the rest of this out. But yeah, so technically what they call it is, in all the research I've seen, is magnification is what it's actually doing. Like rangefinder is giving you more magnification, not necessarily more zoom, but zoom does give you more magnification. So that's kind of how I interpret it and wrap my mind around it. And for those worried, like, okay, you're saying rangefinder's really good. What about the zoom nerf coming? Remember, Mercury's confirmed on firing range that they're only planning on nerfing the damage fall off part of zoom. So that means that rangefinder is still going to give you extra recoil control, extra aim assist fall off distance, and more accuracy. So very, very good perk.
Still, that's gonna last through the zoom and rangefinder changes that are coming next season in season 22. Gotcha.
Exactly, yeah. So it's kind of future proof. Even though I know everybody's so concerned about, I can't tell you how many comments I get. Well, what about when this happens? Y'all, rangefinder is gonna be great. It's a really good perk. It has too many things going for it, and it needs to be nerfed, even past the nerf that it already got.
That's whoa. Hey, look, everybody. I I didn't agree to that last blurb right there. That's just his opinion right there. I need my rangefinder on my hand cannons, bro.
You can keep it. I'm okay with that. If they can pull that off. Okay, let's talk about the roll here. So my roll here, I'm going. This is where I'm going to get super controversial, but I've been testing it a lot on Tachyon Force, and all that talk about range I did earlier. I'm going to go full bore on it. I'm just forget stability, forget everything. I'm going full bore to get the max range I can and projection fuse, because I'm not going to do a range masterwork. I'm actually going to do a charge time masterwork and a targeting adjuster. And the charge time masterwork, I think, is the most controversial thing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. What?
Yeah, so there's a reason for this, and I've explained it in some videos, and I've slowed it down. If you watch the most recent video that I did on the Pressurized Precision Iron Banner Fusion Rifle, towards the end, I did a little slow motion thing to show what I'm about to talk about, and that is that, normally you want it to stay 5 bolts to kill. If I'm going charge time masterwork, I'm not going to be able to 5 bolt kill even more resilience levels. So that should be bad. Thing is, I'm obsessed with that charge time. That 620 charge time feels so good, and I like outgunning other people who have my same gun. So I simply must have it. There's that part of it. And then secondly, I don't rely on the 5 bolt kill. I'm fusioning past my damage fall off range, just slightly past it, and with rangefinder and all this range, I'm hitting, my damage fall off doesn't happen until 19 meters, so I'm hitting 20 meters just past the damage fall off. That's my ideal kill range, and I have to land all 6-7 bolts to do that anyway. So 5 bolts does not matter to me. The whole 5 bolts up to this resil, 6 bolts up to that resil doesn't matter. I need to connect all the bolts anyway, and this fusion with rangefinder can help me do it.
Gotcha. So you're building the fusion to connect all the bolts anyway.
Exactly.
And whether the charge time masterwork was there or not, whether it's 5 bolts up to this or that, you're building it to hit all 7 anyway. So therefore, from there, you're putting the charge time masterwork on it to bring that charge time down a little bit to something a little more cozy.
Exactly. And this will annoy some people, because they'll use it within 10 to 15 meters, and they're like, I missed a bolt, and that guy left with 2 HP, and I could have killed him if I just had if I didn't have this charge time masterwork. And my reply is, how many battles did you win because you were that much faster, though, versus you being not as good and not landing your shots? I would rather the thing that I can control be my fault. I would rather be okay, I missed the bolts, that's my fault. I should have hit those bolts, I would have got that kill, rather than I just wasn't fast enough. If I had a faster charge time, I would have killed that person.
That's something that you can't control.
Exactly. Yeah.
Outside of course, the charge time masterwork. Okay.
Not very many people think about fusions that way. Not very many people think about adaptive fusions specifically, because they're so finicky when you mess with their time to kill, or their bolts to kill. But this is how I think about it. So full bore, projection fuse, rangefinder, charge time masterwork, and then for the third column, I'm actually going moving target. But I'm totally cool if the game wants to give me Discord there, because that perk looks jacked. But if I'm just I just want to get kills with this fusion, I'm going to go moving target. That makes up for my aim assist, puts me right back up there, and I'm basically a better statted out Tachyon Force with rangefinder, just like Tachyon Force, which I ranked the #1 fusion rifle in the game. So
oh wow, okay.
I think that this is really good. I can't wait to get a good roll of it, so that I can confirm it is very good, because right now all my rolls are half good.
Well, they know you're a fusion rifle main.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
They're not going to give it to me. Yeah. Tachyon Force was the last weapon that Last Wish gave me to craft. It was no, we're going to wait. Hold on, not yet. Okay, now you have it. You got all the others? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be the way it is for me and Nation of Beasts as well. I know it.
That was the first one I got, actually.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I'm not even going to say what I was going to say.
You were gonna curse my Iron Banner RNG, weren't you?
Well, I will say that I certainly do. I think that folks out there appreciate, your perspective as someone who is a longtime, fusion rifle main, somebody that specializes in it, somebody that is one of the at the forefront of creators on YouTube, as well, specializing in fusion rifles. That different perspective, that kind of blew my mind, along with when we were talking pre-show about how, or even, a little bit earlier as well, about how you spec out more so with range these days versus stability. So it's just interesting. I think that our viewers will also kind of appreciate your specialized view of it, because they can get, somebody talking about all stability, no charge time masterwork. That's like every other video. No disrespect, but that's kind of just like the common, perception of it. And it's just nice to hear another viable alternative that is not talked about as much.
That's good to hear. And also, I want to say too, and make clear that just because I say this is the way I would roll this adaptive fusion does not mean that I would want to roll every adaptive fusion. I get even comments on today's video that went out over this fusion rifle. A lot of people were saying, I thought you liked arrowhead break on adaptive fusion rifles, to the recoil direction was just too much. And sometimes, but every fusion, and just by looking at the accuracy cones from the hip fire on my screen and comparing them today whenever I was testing Discord, I could see the accuracy cone look different on Tachyon Force versus this, even if everything was equal in terms of, stat, like they were just different. And so I was like, wait a minute, like this is the same zoom value. Why is the accuracy, so much different here? Accuracy isn't a stat that we have here in the stat bars. And so I think every fusion rifle is just different. Every weapon in Destiny is just different. You can't ever say like, oh, well, this is an adaptive hand cannon, so it needs to be treated like this. Well, no, every hand cannon is different. It'll feel different and might need a different kind of perk to it. So that's how I approach fusion rifles too. So don't take this out of context and say every adaptive needs full bore, because I would never use full bore on Royal Executioner. It would not be a fun time.
Yeah. And the parallel that I would draw to that is something that I talk about, frequently. The fact that certain hand cannons feel heavier, even they might have the exact same handling stat, but certain hand cannons feel heavier on the handling than other hand cannons, but the exact same stats, stats. So I feel like that there's some sort of internal stat that makes, for lack of better words, makes weapons feel a little heavier than others. That is it could be tied to handling or not. It could be a multiplier or not, is what I'm trying to say. But it's something else that kind of influences that, because I feel like 85 on Thorn, but Thorn doesn't feel as snappy on the draw speed at the very least, as other hand cannons at 85. I think around 85 handling. So I definitely agree that there's some mystery. There's definitely some mystery behind different weapons, individual weapons, and their gun feel. And I think that's a good thing as well. I think that's really cool. And it's always really interesting from the content creator perspective as well, as we, dig deep and try to discover and try to discern what's happening, behind the code.
For sure. Well, let's finish this thing out. We should have done this one first, because I'm just going to, be like, whatever, because it's a heavy weapon. But the Swarm of the Raven rapid fire frame void heavy grenade launcher, 150 RPM. It's a rapid fire heavy grenade launcher. This is not in meta right now, but me and Tony were talking pre-show, and I was like, it has impulse amplifier on it. It has destabilizing rounds, which is kind of interesting, as like if I want to just blow a group up of people, not just PvE, like maybe there could be some play there. And then it's got full court, and really what caught my attention more than anything is Adagio in the last column, and how, well, maybe if I like got a kill, it has impulse amplifier. I'm saying all this to say, this is a random drop. If I get one to drop with Impulse Adagio, I'm probably going to try it out. If I get one to drop with Impulse Destabilizing Rounds, I'm probably going to try it out. But that's about it.
I'm sitting here giggling because we both wrote something for Legos in the notes. He said, my roll, whatever I can get. In Tony's roll, it says, parentheses, none.
Just trash them. Delete them.
I just noticed.
Yeah, there's just rapid fire grenade launchers in PvP. Not great. I am curious. Like I'm like, could Adagio feel consistent enough? Because there's no like, I'm not gonna tell you there's no TTK value to give you. It's just either it kills or it doesn't. And there's no like this blast radius, this velocity is the perfect one hit kill or anything like that. It's just you just got to go out there and feel it and how you shoot the shots. Is it close enough and enough damage to get the kill? And I'll let you know when I get Adagio on it. I'm sure I will. I'm sure it's going to give me that instead of the fusion rifle I want.
It's time to put this guy to bed right now, I tell you. Yeah, well, we talked about it, and the reason why I'm, not that big of a believer in Adagio, I do agree it's important to kind of get a feel for certain weapons, and this is one of the ones that I'd like to, because people tell me it still should one-shot. It's got impulse amplifier on it, so velocity is so important on these things, and impulse amplifier fills that, checks that box. But when you get Adagio, you basically get, I guess, a more consistent one-shot because it buffs the damage 30%.
Yep,
sure,
exactly
cool, all right. But then it takes the RPM to 125 versus 120 on a memory interdict and adaptive. And a memory interdict is definitely going to be consistent on the first shot and the second shot without any sort of damage perk on it. So it's just like, what role is this thing even filling in PvP that an adaptive with impulse amplifier and proximity nades, because we're just assuming that, that folks know that. I mean, we talked about memory interdict. Even on this one, I would go for impulse amplifier and proxy would be the base minimum for me personally for PvP. So what can this thing do that, memory interdict can't just do a base, right? Just a base, even with Adagio on it.
Yeah.
For me, if I was going to check out a role, I'd be looking for that destabilizing. I'd be looking for impulse amplifier, and I'd be looking for destabilizing, and then proxy. So, it's okay.
It's a gun. Yeah.
Sure, it's a gun.
It's a grenade launcher of all time.
Yeah. It's got Cascade Point on it. I'm actually kind of surprised that LEGO didn't mention that.
No, Cascade Point on a thing with limited ammo, though. That's like reviewing a sniper rifle and being like, hey, Cascade Point, look, I got on my sniper rifle with 2 shots.
Look, you were so in love with this perk, bro, that I was like,
that's true.
Is he gonna mention it? Like, I think we could probably do like a betting pool on it.
You would probably win the bet because one of the grenade launchers that I have been keeping on my character is a Cascade Point roll, and I have taken it into comp and stuff before. Not like even on purpose, it just happens, and I do get it to proc sometimes, and I'm like, oh yeah, this grenade launch. And it's kind of hilarious to melt someone with it, but it's not practical. Don't do it. Don't be like Lego. It's a terrible idea.
Oh man. Oh, I love it. Cool, man. What a good comeback episode for us right there.
Yeah, that was good.
It's good to have
that was
back.
Nice. It's good to be back, and I'm so thankful for you taking over the show last time with Drewski. That was such a great episode. And I'm sad to say that I'm actually like kind of getting sick right now again. It's like I just got done getting sick, and it's like, oh great, again.
This is what having a young kid does to you right there.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Y'all brand new. You know what I'm saying? Just keep the vitamin C next to you or whatever.
I literally downed some vitamin C water earlier today, so yes, I'm on it. Well, I hope this was an informal episode for you all, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bring us to a close of another show. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Destiny Massive Breakdowns, and be sure to reach out on social media and Discord with feedback and questions, as Tony said earlier, or just let us know what you think about this episode, what roles you're chasing. I love those tweets when you're like, someone's like, oh, I got the roll, or anything like that. It makes my day, seriously.
Likewise. I mean, it changes my perspective, and oftentimes I end up bringing that right into here as well.
Yep.
Where I'm just like, yo, in the pre-show or something, I'm just like, they've been talking about this. Somebody's been talking about this. Like, let's dig into this a little bit. So, no, that's very helpful, and we definitely both appreciate you guys kind of sharing what you guys are going for, what niches you guys have discovered, whether it be a niche playstyle or whether it be a niche, weapon perk combination. It's really, really cool. But remember, you can connect to all things DMB at DestinyMassiveBreakdowns.com, including Podcast versus Enemies, hosted by our very own cohort, Impetus and Saint Caber, and also Beneath Twin Suns, a Star Wars podcast hosted by Kit Kutcha, of course, and Mercules. You'll find our social links and invite to join the conversation in Discord, episodes new and old, the occasional guidepost, and more well-written resources right there. Well, this has been fantastic. My name is Ill Physics, of course, aka Tony, if you did not previously know me. People are always saying, what should I call you? Just call me Tony, people. You can call me Ill Physics. You can call me Fizz. I've got one person that calls me Fizz. So that's cool. But yeah, you can just call me Tony. That's cool. And you can find me at Ill Physics on Twitch and Twitter. Also discord.gg/Ill Physics if you want to come through for labs or just come through with a cool community. We got like 3,000 people in there just vibing. And also on YouTube as well, which I always say I should do more with, but time is just limited. So
it is.
Yeah, check me out.
Yeah, and this has been Lego LaFlash. You can find me on Twitter and YouTube at LegoLeFlash. And yeah, thanks for the great episode, y'all. It's great to be back with y'all. And until next time, we'll see you.
Peace.